So I was telling you that the idea of today is to present you some of the best practices of biowaste collection in Europe, okay? This is one of the big aims of the LIFE BIOBEST project, and today you will kind of have an exclusivity of all the learning and first findings of the LIFE BIOBEST project. I was just hoping to share a few thoughts with you before to start. I guess we're all here today because we are either starting our biowaste collection system or eager to learn how to improve it. But I guess that beyond all technicalities and because we will of course share with you some regulatory instruments, best practices, etc. that can appear as very technical. But I would say that there is like a bigger aim to that, which is to improve our soil health, which is the base of all life. So I would like just you to keep that maybe in the back of your mind, that we might talk about technical instruments and things that might appear a bit cold, but the reason we're all here today, I guess, is that we want to close the biological cycle, build more efficient food system, and ultimately protect our soil and regenerate them. So this is, I think, why we are all gathered here today, and it's a bit more emotional than just a technical thing. So yes, this is just my little insight for today before to start. I will just like to go over the agenda with you shortly. So this is a workshop in 3 parts. The first part of the workshop, you will hear from a few front runners in the Catalonia region. Gemma will present them to you later, so I'm not going to say the name right now. So yeah, you will hear from best practices from those 3 front runners. Then you will hear from 2 of our colleagues, Stefan and Michele. Stefan works from the European Composting Network, and Michele comes from Italy and is also part of the BioBest project, and they've been developing key performance indicators for biowaste collection and recycling, and they will present them to you. Those are kind of innovative indicators, and I guess it's going to be like a nice insight for you all. This will be followed by a Q&A session. I would like to insist on that, like for the online participants and the in-person one, please wait for the Q&A session to ask your questions, so don't hesitate to write them down, either in the chat if you're online, or in your little books if you're in person, but wait for the Q&A because we have a lot of things to cover, and yeah, we need to make sure that there's time for everything. For the online participants, because this is a hybrid workshop, during the Q&A, you will either have the possibility to write in the chat your question or just raise your hand. There will be always someone in front of the screen of the computer to pass the question to the audience. If you raise your hand in the online session, you can be heard by us all. We have speakers, so yes, you can also speak and be heard, right? This will be followed by a coffee break of 25 minutes for the in-person participants. We will go outside and there will be like coffees and some snacks. And for the online participants, yes, this is a moment for you to just stretch and get a tea or a coffee. Then we will go to the second part of the workshop, and we will talk and discuss about policy and regulatory barriers, but also solutions. This is a quite important work we've been doing with the BioBest project, trying to identify what are the most common barriers and local challenges that local officials are facing when starting the biowaste collection system. What is preventing them to actually perform better and how we can overcome that. So you will have a presentation made by Lauriane from ACR Plus, which is also a partner of the BioBest project, and Mike Stevenage from the N Foundation. They will present you some of the first findings, okay, that have been made. And this will be followed by another presentation from 2 also well-performing systems in Catalonia, but still facing a few challenges, and they will share that with you today. And this will be followed also by a presentation from the Waste Catalonia agency, right? Yeah. And they will present you some possible solutions, economic instruments and financial instruments, and ways to actually overcome some barriers to start and improve your biowaste collection. Similarly, with the first part, there will be a Q&A session. So keep your question for that part. A short coffee break, but very short, because the first one will be about half an hour. The second one is mostly to go to the toilet, grab a cup of coffee or like a cup of water and go back to the seats. And then the fun part, we will go into like co-creation exercise. So it will be about 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And the idea of this co-creation exercise is to split the group into small groups. For the online participants, you will be split into breakout rooms. Each group will have a facilitator from our team, and you will work on hypothetical scenarios to try to improve a hypothetical system that needs to be optimized. So the idea here is to really absorb all the best practices, resources, findings you will learn today and try to use it to improve an hypothetical system and try to understand how you can optimize it using the learnings you will get today. And then we will have lunch for the one in person and for the one, of course, online, okay? I think I said everything. Yes, tell me. Yes, no, I think you want, yeah, okay, sorry. So Gemma here from the N Foundation will just make a few words in Catalan to welcome, the Catalan people here in the audience and speakers, because of course we're in Catalonia and we are super grateful to be here today. So let's honor your nice culture.
Hello, everybody.
E a todos e todas, hello, good morning.
Because we are here in Barcelona, in Catalonia. So, benvinguts i benvingudes a...
Welcome all to this session of the BioBest project. This is the first event we have in person here in Barcelona, and we want to share with you the first results of the work we have been developing and the good experiences and the different tools and instruments we're promoting in Catalonia. So, I do hope it will be very interesting for you all and also for the online attendants. And we hope that this project will be developed because next year we will carry out other activities and we'll have many of the outputs ready to share with you about the collection and management of waste, which is a very significant topic, especially because as of next year, its separate management will be compulsory. Thank you for your attention and thank you for being here today. And we will actually keep you posted about the future events.
Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma. Okay, now it's time for one of our partners, Mike from the N Foundation, to briefly present you the BioBest project.
Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. My name is Mike Stanavage, and I work with Fundació ENT. So the LIFE BioBest project is a project funded by the European Commission with the primary focus of, let me get over here on the podium, guiding and mainstreaming the best practices in terms of bio-waste collection and implementation across the European Union. So the project is about 2.5 years, and we started in January of this year, and we will continue until June of 2025. And throughout the process, what we're working on is a number of deliverables, both private and public, that are accelerating and progressing our knowledge about this sector and how to improve it over the course of this time. All of this comes as the European Union has set out the mandate in January 2024, that all municipalities across Europe must implement bio-waste collection, a separate collection. And so especially in these first few months, our project has been to study this kind of transition period from without the mandate to the mandate. So we are a group of 5 organizations. We have Fundació ENT, who you've heard from already, Zero Waste Europe, and then ACR Plus and CHIC, the Italian Compost and Biogas Association. And then lastly, European Compost Network. So in total, we cover a number of different countries: Spain, Germany, Italy, and Belgium. And but behind each is wonderful expertise. And so the LIFE BioBest project is a life preparatory project. And the idea is that it is Also a project that addresses the ad hoc legislation and priority activities of the European Union. And as Manon already mentioned as well, this project is focused on soil biodiversity and health. So for as much as we can talk about bio-waste and its collection, the real goal here is that it's being made into a viable resource that can be utilized by municipalities and agriculture, etc. All right, and so yeah, as I mentioned, the soil is the main genesis of this project, and closing that loop. So currently, as we've discussed bio-waste, it's been perhaps focused on quantity, and while quantity is very important, of course, now we're looking to shape the conversation into a conversation of quality as well. So how to make collection into something that can produce the output that we're really looking for, whether that be compost or digestate, and using biogas or not in the process. And so in the process of this, Life BioBest has a number of different objectives based in best practices and evaluating the management instruments that can be applied. And we've already begun kind of looking at the key performance indicators about how to assess this resource and this management in terms of streamlining it across stakeholders and municipalities. In the process, as you'll see from the signs around, we're actively hoping to engage with you folks as stakeholders to participate in the project and to hopefully both contribute and take away some key insights. And in terms of the outputs, as I had mentioned already, there's a number of different deliverables that we'll present through the course of the Life BioBest project. Those include fact sheets, both front-runner and best practices. In the coming year, we will present 4 different guidelines, one on separate collection, another on governance and economic incentives, and then compost quality and digestate, and that'll be accompanied by a fact sheet about front-runner experiences. In December of this year, in just a few months, or a month now almost, we'll present a policy brief about the regulatory and policy barriers that are kind of between successful or struggling municipalities and member states that are providing that service with streamlined efficiency. And we're also managing and providing a BioBest web support tool, and that will be available in the coming year as well. All right, and so as this event continues forward, we hope that perhaps you consider, if you're not already, to become a stakeholder in the event and to participate in our activities, etc. That is, after all, the main reason we're here and we're doing this work is to connect and try to leverage the conversation amongst as many people as possible. All right, thank you so much. And with that, we will continue on to Manon's tour de table.
It's fine, it's fine. This is not so practical. Okay, thank you so much. So we wanted to leave you a bit of time to actually share a few thoughts with us. So maybe if some of you want to present themselves, who are you, where are you coming from which organization or city you are working for, and similarly, what do you hope to gain from this workshop today? So this is a moment for you, to share a bit about yourself. Either if you're in person or online, feel free to take the floor. And yes, someone wants to start? Should I name someone? I don't know, Nana, if some people online also want to speak, but it's also possible. So the idea is for us also to know each other a bit better and understand who is here in this group, so we can also, network during the coffee breaks or, No one wants to take the floor. Not right now? Yeah? Okay, please. I think maybe with the... Okay, no, it's fine. Let's keep it like this. Yeah. Can you hear her? Yeah? Okay. Okay, okay.
How other cities manage with a special complexity in high density areas with high socioeconomic complexity. How are they doing the instruments they are developing, especially with communities, things like that.
Thank you so much. Does anyone want to share a bit about, yes, Irina?
Hi everyone, my name is Irina. I am from Zero Waste Lviv, Ukrainian NGO, and we are working with municipality of city of Lviv on bringing it to zero waste, becoming zero waste city. And we are the first city that introduced separate organic collection in Ukraine, and despite of war still continue the operations. Right now 99% of inhabitants, and in city of Lviv is 780,000 people, and now with 150,000 of internally displaced people residing within the city. And yeah, we have to increase now both quality of separate collection and increase the capacity of the composting plant itself.
Thank you, Irina. Does anyone want to share something else? Yeah? Enzo? Yes? Okay. So we have a bit of online participation as well, and we can hear from you. Sure. Let's hope we can hear him. Thank you, Enzo. I think we had Daniel over there. I wanted to take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Steinitz from Austria, from the Alliance Microplastic Free, which has been initiated originally by the Compost and Biogas Association in Austria. We want to especially take care of the problem of plastic, of conventional plastic in the organic waste stream. And yet, that's why I'm here, and I would be happy to discuss with you what the solutions can be to handle that problem.
Thank you. Okay. I can see that now everyone wants to speak. That's great.
Good morning. My name is Carlo Lusi. I'm coming from Italy. I'm the manager of a private company involved in the production of a paper bag for the managing of the bio-waste, and we are improving some solutions to help citizens to be able to have less troubles in separate collection of bio-waste, and of course reducing the weight and the liquids inside the bio-waste, and help the plants to have a better compost and more biogas. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe someone online want to? No? You can speak, yeah? We hear you perfectly. Anyone else would like to share? Yeah? Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Ignasi Puig, also from Fundació ENT. Well, I've been here just to liaise a bit with different partners of the project, but also in our case, our main area of expertise is the use of economic instruments like waste charges, landfill taxes, and so on. So also may want to contribute to see to what extent these instruments may also help to deploy these separate collection strategies that we are talking about.
Thank you so much. Maybe one more person before we move on the other section? Yeah? Great.
Thank you. Sorry. My name is Beatriz Martín. I came from Composta en Red, that is a national composting network from all parts of Spain. We work in composting, decentralized composting, no big plants. And we are here because we like to see what people in all around Europe are doing with the separation. That is, you know, the first part of doing a good quality compost. So, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. We always have more time.
Okay, good morning. My name is Teresa Guerrero. I'm the responsible of separate collection promotion in the Waste Agency of Catalonia. And I have worked with a lot of people here, but not with everyone. And I'm here to share our challenge and our the solutions or best practices in terms of quality, that's very important, and cost and taxation, that's another challenge as well in Catalonia. We are working deep, so and share and go out our everyday work and share have another point of view of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So unfortunately, I think we have to move on now to the next part. Maybe a quick reminder. Unfortunately today, okay, 5 hours might appear as a long workshop, but it's not giving you enough time to tackle everything. So we decided to focus really on the collection part today. Of course, it's really connected to the recycling and treatment parts, but unfortunately this will not be the focus of today. Maybe it will be the focus of another workshop, but just keep that in mind and don't be too frustrated if you have many questions for the recycling and treatment part. This can be, the topic of another one. So collection for today and maybe treatment and recycling for another workshop. Okay, so let's move on to the first part, best practice of bio-waste separate collection and success indicators. And yes, we will hear now from a few people, front runners, and I will leave Gemma presenting them.
Thank you. So we are glad to introduce this second part of best practices from runners. Okay, the first speaker will be Gemma Viñas, so if you want to come, please. Gemma Viñas is the responsible for waste management and environmental area of the county of Berguedà in the central north of Catalonia, and they have a door-to-door collection system with a very good results and with a high capture rate of bio-waste. Okay, so the floor is yours, Gemma.
Hello, as Gemma said, I'm Gemma as well. I'm from Berguedà, which is a county in the north of Catalonia. I'm, first of all, thanks to the organization for inviting us, being here today. It's a pleasure being able to explain our experience here. As you can see, just a bit introduction, we are in the northeast of Spain, in the center and north of Catalonia, and we are in a very rural and mountain area. We, in the whole county, we have about 4,000 inhabitants, and Berga, which is the capital, has got around 17,000 at the moment. We have also two of the smallest municipalities in Catalonia with less than 30 inhabitants. Okay, where we were a few years ago, we had open containers on the street, like most people. In the bigger cities, we had 5 fractions of collection. And in the rural municipalities, we had, for the bio-waste, community composting. We still have that. It's working very well. People participate quite well. And you can see the picture on the bottom, which we can see our composting. They compost, and we leave the bags there so people can take it and use it. And even for the gardens, the municipal gardens, the public gardens, and all that, it can be used. We had containers for the household oil as well, and clothing, that they are still on the street. Next one, please. Okay, we had only 32% of selective collection. It's very bad rates. And we were 5th for the tail in Catalonia. That was in 2017. And okay. Then at the end of October 2018, we implanted the door-to-door collection in 12 municipalities, 90% of the country in terms of population. They were the bigger municipalities, the ones in orange, and also where the main road of the county is. Okay. The good thing in our county is that it's a regional waste management. We all do it from the county, and it's a county project. So all the politicas are agreed by the Council of Mayors. So we've got 31 municipalities, and we agree where to go in all these councils. We started door-to-door collection in these 12 municipalities, in citizens and commercial, together with joint routes. And Berga, when we implanted it, was the largest city in Catalonia to do door-to-door collection with a bio-waste included. I'm going to go through that very quickly, but I think the implementation campaign in a door-to-door or any change of systems is one of the most important things before you start. That was ours, is in Catalan because I did a copy, but if you pass the next one, what we did is talk to all the politicians, all the public workers, to explain the new system, what we were looking for with this new system, what were the objectives, and all the hopes they could have. Then we sent new letters to all the people. We had sectorial meetings, about 500 sessions in the county. So we went around explaining everyone, schools, neighbors, restaurants, all one by one. We had information points where we deliver all the kits, but also we kind of sorted out all the doubts, especially about collecting the organic bio-waste, not every day, because we used to have the containers on the street, and people were very worried about keeping the organic waste in their kitchens for 2 or 3 days. They were worried about the smells and all this, which we prove after 5 years that there's not a problem, and it works perfectly. We did visits to all the commercial producers, 2,000 visits. We work around all the county, and we removed the containers off the main road the weekend before we started door-to-door collection. What we did, in Berga, it was a big difference. At the beginning, we had the container for the organic bio-waste. All the containers you can see there, they've got a tag, so we got lectures of what people do. We had in Berga only this one, and then we had plastic bags for the plastic and the residual waste, and they had tags as well, so we can check when people take it out. And in the smaller municipalities, they had 3 containers, one for the disposal waste, the waste that goes to the landfill, one for the organic, and one which they can use for plastic or paper, depending on the calendar. It is important to say that it's compulsory to use a compostable bag for the bio-waste. They cannot take it with a plastic bag or any other way. If they don't use compostable bag, the waste is left on the street and is not collected with a sticker in it saying they haven't done it properly. That's very important when we talk about quality of the bio-waste collected. That's just a few pictures of the streets you can see. That's a normal day collection with the bags and this before the lorry comes. That's just an example. We had 12 municipalities, and each one got different systems and different calendars. The only thing common with them is the days we collect every fraction. Bio-waste, we collect it 3 times a week, plastic twice a week, paper once a week, and the residual waste or the landfill once a week in the case of Berga, and once every 2 weeks in the rest of the municipalities. And what we did, we increased the frequency in commercial collection. We've got a special commercial collection, which we increased 1 day of bio-waste and 1 day of paper, because restaurants and schools and other kinds, they needed more support on the bio-waste collection. That's just an example of different calendars we have in our county. And what we had for disseminated houses, because we had scattered houses, we cannot go door-to-door collection to every single house because we've got a very rural area. So for the disseminated areas, we've got the lock-in areas with access control with a key ring. You can see the picture in there. So it's like an area with a door. You need a ring to enter, so we know who has been using that. For the scattered houses, it's unlimited access. They can use it freely when they need to dispose their waste. And for the houses in the urban area, like the families who live in the urban area, they've got 10 entries a year, just for emergencies in case you go on holiday and you don't want to leave your waste at the house till you come back. Which challenges we had? Delivery all the containers and kits for the people and for the commerce to be able to import their waste. It was quite complicated. Most commerce didn't know how much waste they produce until they had to keep it for a couple of days or 2 or 3 days there. So we had to make many changes and adapt the containers during the first 6 months, I would say. We had queues in the delivery points, although we tried to explain to people that it was kits for everyone, that nobody was, the first few days, everybody was queuing there like mad to get their kit. When we removed the containers off the street, people thought it was a good moment to take the opportunity to clean up their houses. We found everything in all the containers the weekend before we took them away to start the door-to-door. And we had to adapt some routes because it's a live system, and as you know, in paper it says one thing, and when you are on the street, it has to change. We had, it's not all good, obviously. We had a big volume waste, which we can find some people who don't want to use the green points, although we open more hours, the green points, due to that. And we have a new bulky service on demand as well now, so people can phone us, and we collect it in 48 hours, the waste in their door, but you still get this picture every so often. We had the problem with the garden waste. It was another thing before. We had garden waste. It seemed easy to collect, and we decided to do it with the bio-waste. The days we collect bio-waste, we could collect the garden waste. What happened? That we were not conscious of the amount of bio-waste from the garden that was to be collected. So we had bags, and most people took it in black bags, plastic bags, so that was inappropriate waste in the bio-waste, so we decided not to allow that anymore. And we have like a container with a tag as well, so they can take their bio-waste with a container, and we know when they take it out. You need to continuous campaigns to remind people to do it properly, how to import their waste, which way, what can it go, what not, and the calendars. That's a picture in there, which is a compostable bag, obviously, but it's not the container in it. So they have to take it out with a container, or it's not collected, and we kind of mark it. Yeah, we are quite strict. That's examples of what happens with the door-to-door collection. It's important to take into account that any effects on the street circulation, it will affect you in your collection. So that was an example of, we had a road works going in there, and we couldn't go in these streets during 3 days. So we had to make an arrangement, and that changes for the Christmas calendar. So we don't have the working people and our people working there in the middle of the Christmas night. That's the results. We went from the 32%, as you can see, to the 67% now of selective collection. We are there, we are quite stable. We like to improve. Take in mind, this is the county results, not just the door-to-door municipalities. Door-to-door municipalities are above 80%, but we still got 19 municipalities with nothing, with no way of collection. That's, as you can see, we had about 13,000 tons going to the landfill, and now it's about 6,000. We are stable here, and we hope we can go down. That's where we are in the European objective. One, we are already there, the other, long way to go. I think I'm near, and that's about the bio-waste. As you can see, the waste inappropriate, we had very good quality, not just a good quantity of it. As you can see, when we implanted the door-to-door collection, it went up, the amount of bio-waste collected in our county, but also the quality is pretty good. We are normally under the 2%, except one route there, which we kind of thought what it was. It was because it was quite a lot of campsites, and it was a summertime, and probably people who came didn't do it properly. But in general, the quality has improved a lot, and the quantity as well. Challenges, we are planning, we are now today we start having a multi-product bucket like the one you saw in the smaller municipalities. We are implementing that in Berga as well. So we are don't know what's going to happen. Not many cities with a big density has this type, but we leave the bags apart and we go straight to this. We change the emergency areas in a few months, hopefully, to smart containers to try to avoid this bulky stuff we have there and control people what they do. And we are in a new contract, which is in licitation now, which we are going to put the smart containers in the 19 rural municipalities left. And that's all for me.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Nice presentation. Thank you very much. Yes, well done. So now it's the turn for Ripollet municipality, a big city in the metropolitan area that recently started with door-to-door collection, and bio-waste is collected with closed containers. And I give the floor to Aleix Canalis, responsible for waste management in the municipality. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, but I will express myself in Catalan because I express better, and I prefer explain in this language, okay?
Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers for allowing us to be here today to explain our experience. The focus, surely, today of my presentation isn't exactly on the goals of the project, which is to improve the quality of the soil, taking into account that I'll be talking about gathering today. But I understand this is the first step, especially in the very densely populated metropolitan area of Barcelona, where if these densely populated areas don't make the effort to pick up the bio-waste separately and with enough quality, well, the ultimate goal of the project will not be reached. I will just start by presenting, for those of you who are not from Catalonia, you have no idea where Ripollet is, because this is a completely opposite situation to what my colleague explained earlier. Hers is a mostly rural area, and ours is deeply rural. Ripollet is a city of 39,000 people living in it, 14th in Catalonia, focused on 4 square kilometers. Our density is one of the highest in the country, which brings with itself a series of disadvantages when it comes to selective gathering of waste. As I was saying, is a really compact urban area with our urbanization allowing for easy sectorization of waste. we have a neighboring town, which is called Cerdanyola del Vallès, which makes it so that our waste gathering model has had to adapt to the nearby city, taking into account that Cerdanyola does it in an open container. So there was no way to control, and so it made it very easy to have this waste tourism. Our urban morphology, we have a urban, very old center, which really impedes the pickup of waste in urban areas, and we also have subpar housing, as well as squatting and other challenges that difficult the gathering in certain areas. How did we start our project? In 2020, just to give you an idea, according to, you know, the model bag of waste gathering in Barcelona, out of 113 kilos per person per year of bio-waste, only 29% were being picked up in Ripollet. For a population of 113 kilos, only 29. Of light packages, paper and glass, if you look at the graph, in every case, very low percentages were being gathered of the waste that we could potentially be picking up. The prior government, and I say prior because the implantation of new waste gathering processes has had many political victims, and makes it so that many political authorities are often reluctant to implant new systems or more forward thinking. And so the prior city government had to have a change in the model when it came to tendering a new contract for waste management. Whereas for bio-waste in 2021, not a lot was being picked up, and what little was being gathered wasn't very high a percentage. The impurity was, as you can see on the bags, it was very high. And that clashed completely with the goal of this project of having quality biofuels. So we introduced a series of improvements, as I shall explain now. We chose a mixed model, so door-to-door with street containers. And so the city was divided in 4 sectors, basically. The 2 sectors, the red and blue, we would have a door-to-door intensive gathering. And so those were packaging, paper, and waste, and general waste. And then in closed containers, we were gathering biofuel and glass in open containers. And on the other hand, we had these other 2 areas, yellow and purple, which, given their urban specifics, made it reasonable to keep container and just separate 2 fractions, which were bio-waste and general landfill waste. The implantation process is getting really drawn out. We had a municipal election, plus the pandemic really delayed the implantation. And what we are finding today is, after a few modifications, an implantation that was meant to be progressive and over 3 months, it's been nearly 18 months and we're not finished. So one of the lessons that we have learned is that we need to reduce this implantation terms, because otherwise the political and mental exhaustion from everyone involved, it just becomes too harsh. As I was saying, we divided the town into sectors according to waste gathering model. As for commercial waste, we separated between domestic and commercial waste. Commercial was done door by door in all cases, according to different areas. And as for domestic waste, we chose different models according to the urban model. Bio-waste was to go in closed containers, and landfill waste would go either in closed containers or identified bags according to the sector. The idea was to introduce environmentally fiscal policies that allow us to identify users as other areas in euros through the European directives and the Spanish waste management law. So we're going to have to either go fair tax or generation identification, but identifying users is essential to carry this out. You have an example for our pickup calendars. As for domestic waste, basically is picked up 3 times a week. 3 days a week for packages, 2 days for paper and cardboard, 1 for landfill waste, and as for everything else, sanitary textile, which is a variable of waste, but it's considered to do it explicitly separate in containers, or glass or landfill waste, it is gathered any day of the week, but within sort of a daily schedule to avoid vandalism and misuse during the night hours. Go back a second. Yes, an important matter concerning the pickup of gardening and cropping waste is that there's in-home pickup to avoid that it goes into the containers and it can be properly separate. There's also a system of emergency areas, so those citizens who can't adapt to that schedule might easily be able to handle their waste properly. What have we found with this implementation? Well, we have encountered a cocktail that could surely be amended if it had been done with more time and less hurriedly during the implementation process. On the one hand, and here's something important, keeping in mind the fact that generating, a tax that can ID users. There was a generalized problem, what I believe is general across Spain and Catalonia, which is that the pattern for waste taxes wasn't updated, which came with significant problems when it came to identifying users, giving away access cards, especially when it comes to the commercial aspect. In the case of the town of Ripollet, there was a side-by-side implementation of waste, which has proven with the experience that could be included, but it hasn't been great. We've had many trouble when it came to implementation, and for anyone who'd like to do this from now on, I would suggest to have an updated census and then identify the great waste generators and then slowly trickle down. We had a bad idea of hiring a company who didn't really answer to the expectations that we had for this implementation, which made things even more complicated. This was also the beginning of the war in Ukraine. We had a lack of materials in specific moment. Our system, it's very complex, a very compact urban area, which needs to tailor to specific areas, which also brought additional difficulties. And we also have a closeness to other towns whose waste management systems aren't as precise, also adds a bit more problems. The areas of community waste management areas haven't really worked really well. We have a, big sort of supermarket consumption model, which really increases the packaging waste in generation. There isn't a significant political unity around the project. We started in a year when we were a year away from an election, and so this became really a weapon that has left many political victims in its wake, and I think it has instilled a fear of making any kind of move in this sense, and I fear this is going to become extensive to other townships, which will really difficult reaching the percentages of waste, of bio-waste as the law mandates and as we want. And finally, there's the need to be very clear on how much things cost. There's a lot of pedagogy left in our country as for what things cost, what waste treatment costs, what waste gathering costs, and this is always very controversial, basically because of the ignorance of a lack of knowledge on what things cost. However, there are reasons to remain optimistic, and in that sense, even if the situation that I posit seems to be close to chaos, myself, as the technical manager of all this, remain optimistic. Why? Because from before to after, we have some significant differences. when it comes to gathering, landfill waste has fallen by 35%. Bio-waste has increased by 72%. That's before and after. Packaging has increased 44%, paper and by 24%, glass by 28%, and large volume waste, beds or mattresses or sofas we tend to find around open containers have also gone down. And here's another significant thing, is that we've gone down, and in the case of bio-waste, which is here, we have gone from 22.97% impurities to 12.90%, which suggests that the figures are good. There's a higher rate of separation, and there's higher quality of the separation, especially when it comes to bio-waste, which is what we have the most data on. Here's an evolution of separate pickup for 2012 to 2023. We came from a stagnant situation, around 30-something to 38%, with a peak initiating in early 2022. Door-to-door and closed container, there was an exponential growth from pickup, which puts us at 55, 56%. Data has gone down somewhat, but there we are. Even when we haven't finished really with the implementation of our model. So we believe that once we can finish, we could really hover at around 65%, being optimistic around that 65% that the law demands by 2035. However, going into 2025, Ripollet will have reached its goals, and we will try to perfect the system. And just to wrap up, I would say we need to, things we still need to do, perfect the model, where it has already been implanted. Anything that allows us to improve the separate, also as things happening on the public roads, continue with information campaigns and with the fine processes. Because basically what we're doing, any change attempts with our habits as a society, and the hardest thing to change are our personal habits when it comes to handling waste, in this case, in our day-to-day life. And so besides pedagogy, if the teaching doesn't come with coercive measures that allow us to push people who don't want, to put it this way, to adapt to the new system, then that makes it really difficult. As I was saying, it will be interesting to do differential sectors based on the types of gathering and the sectors, which will allow us to introduce improvements over the next few years to try to increase these separate waste percentages, which, especially in the sectors that as of today are at a deficit. And something important, let's face it, a door-to-door model in such a densely populated area as Ripollet, well, a public road is problematic because there's going to be waste bags on the door at unseemly hours of the day, and so the cleaning system must also collaborate with that, because that's the problem with the door-to-door system. The perception of citizens is that it's an old-fashioned model, it's dirty, it doesn't really give anything personally other than being a nuisance, because you can't take away your waste whenever you want or whatever. And finally, as has come up in the next generation, we need a new fiscal ordinance, because the Spanish waste law compels us towards January 2025. And I think this is going to come with a significant political battle, which has already started with the fiscal ordinances this year. They've gone up by 75% in the case of Ripollet. And they will increase much more across the country, keeping in mind that intensive waste gathering models, well, they're more expensive in a city such as Ripollet. And let's face it, we shall not be compensated. We're going towards more expensive waste management systems, which are obviously much more sustainable from an environmental perspective. And I think that's it. Thank you very much. I hope that wasn't too boring, and see you.
Thank you, Lesh. We will follow up your experience, and we will invite you in the upcoming events to see the advances of Ripollet. So now we would like to introduce Marta Vila, responsible for waste management in the municipality of Mataró, a big city that now is starting with door-to-door collection, with mobile points, with commercial collection. So Marta will give you more details about that. So thank you, Marta, and it's your turn.
Thank you, Gemma. I will try to do my presentation in 10 minutes, so I will do the presentation in Catalan. I will be quick in Catalan, okay? Molt bé. Mataró, pels que...
All right, for those of you who don't know, Mataró has about 130,000 inhabitants. It's a capital of the Maresme region. So it's a capital when it comes to services. It has a regional hospital, a significant commercial area. And we call it the five-corner city because we still have a small rural agricultural area which have also been included in our best practices area, precisely looking for part of the compost that is generated. It's a small-scale city. We're talking about a small agricultural area. Just so we can retain it to make high-quality compost, we have an industrial area that is significant. We also have a significant forest area, as well as the urban area with a very high urban and social diversity. We have a 70% of foreign population. Sorry, the buttons aren't working very well. The goal of our strategy, we now have a contract that we call a bridge contract, which isn't going to take very long. And the goal was to try different high efficiency systems with user ID to see how we could adapt or what results we could get from the different urban weave and with different social and economic configurations present in the city, not just on a technical level, but it's also a learning process for everyone at an organizational level, at a service level, and at a population level from a series of instruments. And for those who know me, know I always love to place this idea of a puzzle, of trying all these different pieces without which we will not reach our goals, and not just the technical ones. And those are governance aspects, which, as you can see, are key. Leadership, especially when it comes to mid-size and large towns. And because that's where the big challenge lies, to show how these systems work, especially at least in Catalonia, of cohesiveness, how to apply fiscal policies, how we increase participation and decision-making culture at the level of institutions and of citizens as a whole, as well as giving the legal framework with the tools that we need to keep moving forward, and also that's the stick and carrot that we all need to move forward. As I was saying, here's that bridge contract. We defined a series of projects. We have the city center with a high percentage of pedestrianization. That's a typical city center of how the city was considered between walls. There's also a high commercial density, as also a high use density. We have a sort of more mountainous forest area with lower density or mid-density region, but suddenly you see high rises with a high density of housing. We also have industrial areas, we have mixed use areas, as well as low density residential areas of different types. We were fortunate enough to be there at the right time, at the right moment, when these financial aids were coming with the innovation, and we got a funding for €3.5 million, which has been the great catalyst that has allowed us to start putting together the puzzle, as I was saying. Our goal is by 2026 having the big large-scale tender with the phase-by-phase implementation across the whole town. The models we are now setting up, those are the ones within the innovative processes. commercial door-by-door, which is fully implanted, mobile selective pickup, door-by-door in residential areas outside of the city center, door-by-door in a specific neighborhood of the center, and when I leave here, I'm going to go into neighbor association meetings. And we need fixed closed containers in a very high density area. And then we have a very interesting project to foster preparation for reuse, which is to go for bulk, large volume, not door by door, but within the housing units, and separate things that can be prepared to be reused from things that are meant for landfill. I have to say, we are the township in Catalonia that generates most large volume waste per resident.
Given that I have promised that I would try to cover all of the ground in 10 minutes, I'm going to show you a few pictures. This is how we collect the waste. The moment we are asked for bulky things, we also ask if they have anything else. So we collect door-to-door clothing and other stuff. So we take advantage of this service to collect that too. We have also set up the retail collection, distinguishing between the city center, where we have taken out all of the containers. In the city center, they have door-to-door collection. We have a fleet of electrical vehicles, and we have the operation of microsurgery to find all of the retail activities that are susceptible to a door-to-door collection because they generate a lot of quantities, they have problems with the containers or whatever, because they have smell problems, and we also collect it door-to-door. And the main challenge is spectacular. It is just spectacular. The amount of effort you have to do to individualize industrial areas. We're trying to do that. Initially, well, we thought that in 6 months we would have it, and we have been doing it for a year and a half now, and we're still not making it. You know, there are so many places we didn't know they existed, very, very complicated industrial warehouses. And then we have the so-called mobile collection. This is the one that's orange shaded. It's the area where the model is a mobile selective collection. We have taken out all of the containers, and we have emerging, or platforms that go up, and in the picture you will see it more clearly. The blue area we see around it is the so-called influence area. It's very important to develop it in terms of communication, because at the end of the day you do not know where people do not know where they have to take their waste. These are our platforms. The idea was to look for synergies and to collect with the same vehicles, with the same trucks with which we collect in the rest of the city. We have containers that are bilateral, and they have 4 containers, all of them closed, all of them with user ID and following a calendar, organic and light packaging, especially because of capacities, because the organic one it goes along with clothing. So it's because of a capacity problem. Organic and packaging are always there, and the rest change. And the key, above all, is to reduce the frequency for the general waste fraction. Once they have all been placed, they look like that in the street, and all of the containers are closed and identified with the user. With this system, well, at the beginning we had a lot of difficulty. We have a lot of elderly people in our municipality. We had difficulties to open up and maintain. They had problems to keep the door open. So the team, in 1 or 2 weeks, and in the meantime we had informers helping them out, we actually put in a handle just when the accessibility regulation changed. And here we have a control of abandoned bags per week. It has become stabilized. It doesn't go up, but there is no way to reduce it. Originally, we opened up the bags every week. The opening of the bags is done on the market day in the very midst, so that people realize what we're doing, because we do not want people to leave bags abandoned. And for example, today we made, we open up bags in the middle of people, but it has, the number of abandoned bags has stabilized. We do not know how to reduce it. This is one of the challenges we have to face in the future. This is door-to-door in outskirt urban developments. We have 2 fractions a day in a compartmentalized truck, and it's by day. It's done by day. And we cover all of the fractions. This model will be the one that it has already been approved. On the 26th of November, we will have the first day of collection in the neighborhood you see on the lower part of the slide within the city. And, it's a typical urban development with small-sized houses. And I would say that the largest dwelling unit has 17. The largest building has 17 dwelling units, just to give you an idea. We have restaurants, bars, etc. Now, the calendar is the one I'm showing you here, but we're still discussing it. It's under discussion. And what's the main problem we're facing? Well, the organic fraction. The organic fraction smells, and people in urban development, well, they are not used to door-to-door, and you only get negative responses. People say, well, we see people coming in and throwing the waste in the container. How many people out of how many? We have to teach them. We have to tell them it's not all negative. The adaptation to the buildings will be done with a special container for the organic. For these buildings who have difficulties. Now, the other instruments, the key. I'm going to start with this one. Okay, we have been fortunate. I think it has been done very well at a political level. And you have to, with the current city government, we have to do things by consensus. And we have consensus between the different political parties. But well, we need at least a favorable vote. We have been working this with the politicians, and we thank our technicians very much for all of the pedagogy that has been done. Now we will go for it on the 24th of November with a new, city regulation with a fair tax for the retail shops that have been doing door-to-door for 2 years, and for the mobile and the door-to-door with a user identification in the urban development. This implies a lot of work in terms of political explanations. And the other tool that's crucial, the implementation has implied the need for a lot of communication, but I'd like to highlight participation. These are the workshops we organized. It's not to clarify what is being done, which is clear, but how to do it. And for the retail shops, we developed some workshops, but you have to know what you accept and what you do not accept. For example, in this new door-to-door activity in this new neighborhood, we're doing this, and we will need an additional workshop day. And we have been able to demonstrate it for the organic, but we had problem with light packaging. And we have also the new city regulation. And I have given you a few indicators which I thought would be interesting to you, given that we're talking about the organic fraction, the collection of the organic fraction, and how, the profile of the selective collection of all of these. We have been working on it for 2 years, and we have 10% of the population at the retail shops. Our goal is to reach 50%, but for the time being, we only reach 10% of the population. And I know it's not a whole lot. You will ask me, how will you cover the 90% remaining? Well, we will survive. In terms of impurities, for the time being, things are going well. The average in the city is quite low, maximum 50% or less, and with all of the systems we are equally or below. With a closed container we are at the same level or below. Model adaptations. We have had to do a lot of model adaptations. Let me highlight, because I promised 10 minutes, right? So I'm going to speak even faster. What's important about managing this fair towards change, and we've done this with a lot of support, a lot of teaching, and a lot of, well, a balance, the right balance between being inflexible and flexible. These are the things we have changed. With regards to the retail door-to-door, we have changed the timetable. We do it by night. The mobile selective collection, we have done also a few changes. In urban development, we are working on the industrial abandoned waste, and we have worked on the vegetable or the gardening. We have more than 1,000 gardening waste bins that are being managed, and in terms of door-to-door, we are working on it. And I'll tell you, well, it looks like the organic fraction will be collected for 3 days, and there will be an additional day for light packaging. A lot of communication, a lot of explanations, workshops for people to see it. This is the specific project I talked about. Schools are doing a pre-compost that then goes to the agricultural area. It's not because of the quantity we can collect, but the effect, the information effect we have. Problems we meet in terms of the mobile waste collection. You can see a few pictures of the problems here. And as a conclusion, let me draw some conclusions. I agree with what the gentleman from Ripollet has said. We have different models. It's different to explain. We have a container in the center, and no matter how much they travel, and then, well, in the outskirts urban development, they actually have only 3-day collections, and then it's better to have door-to-door because they collect the organic fraction every day. It's very difficult to explain these 3 different models to the citizens. We need to learn how to be better organized as the public administration, and I'm saying this with regards to the database with a single window, but we're still working on it. And we are a bit far from actually having done it. And that's it. Thank you very much. Sorry for taking more time than had been allotted to me.
You also, and you will come back for sure in the next events. Okay, so now, Manon, the floor is yours to introduce the next section.
Okay, so now I will welcome to the stage Michele and Stefan. And maybe rather than presenting myself, I can, let you guys presenting who you are, for which organization you're working for, and what are you gonna present us today. But it's written here, so you can see that we're gonna talk about indicators. It's true that we have one mic, but yeah, it's one and after the other. Yeah?
Okay, yeah. On the stage, the right spot, yeah. So, just a general introduction now. Why are we talking about KPIs? Well, that's basically because every European project mandates you to identify KPIs. But it's not only because of that. Volevo che non so se la maggioria della gente è català parlante.
Whether me speak Catalan or English, to me it's exactly the same. Okay.
So, that's because there's a lot of indicators are quite missing now, and they are not currently measured. So that's why we identified a kind of proposal to be included in the LIFE BioBest in order to showcase the importance of these indicators and how they can affect your decision-making process. Now we decided to do kind of internal review between the partner of BioBest and try and identify why, if we talk about collection, we have to identify something very specific. If we talk about treatment, there is something still not measured, or probably even measured but not disclosed. Okay? So now we divided, because we are kind of running late, we can present you a kind of list of the main indicators, starting from the collection. And I will just give you kind of hints, saying, for instance, starting from, we divided them into categories, which are type and quantity of biowaste captured, collection scheme, biowaste left in a residual bin, and incentives or disincentives. So starting from the quantity, we identified, for instance, KPI 1, quantity of biowaste and food waste collected, kilograms per person and year. And take into account, for instance, that we are talking about the quantity of both biowaste and food waste. There are countries in which we just know, and this is the majority of Europe, we just know that there is a certain amount of biowaste, while we want to focus on food waste. And why? Because you know that garden waste and food waste, the sum of the two makes biowaste. But garden waste is easy to some extent as a separate treatment, separate collection scheme than food waste. Food waste is something that we want to avoid, we want to prevent, but then we don't also not to be left to landfills and incinerators. Okay? So that's why we want to measure food waste per capita and year. And in the framework of BioBest, we found out that very limited regions and countries in Europe are currently measuring food waste. One is Catalonia, and another one is the whole of Italy. There is also Denmark, others, but a few others. Then, KPI 2, let's make it a little bit quicker. Are commercial activities included in this KPI? Because sometimes they are separate streams. How many fractions, KPI 3, are allowed in the collection? Because maybe some countries don't allow to include, I don't know, meat or fish in the collection. Then, most importantly, KPI 5, contaminants inside biowaste or food waste collected as a percentage of total biowaste. This is crucial. The impurities are really important in the, with a view to the future calculation of targets at the European level that says you have to calculate net separate collection and not gross one, including rejects. So this is crucial to be measured, and currently, unfortunately, almost no country is systematically measuring this. I would say no countries. There is one front-runner region, which is Catalonia. They are doing this programmatically because it's financed by the landfill incineration tax, so it's a very good best practice. Then, percentage of population covered. You have seen from Marta from Mataró that one district, you have to calculate the percentage of participation in that district and not probably as an average of the total of the city, because otherwise you don't find out a good indicator of performance. KPI 6, ratio between conventional plastic bags to biodegradable plastic bags. When you collect food waste, there are many options. We won't go into detail now. If you say, please use compostable bags, there is always a certain percentage of people not using them and using conventional plastics. And this is a major problem. So that's why we want to measure this. Then, ratio of collection frequency of biowaste to mixed and residual waste. If you collect biowaste, you should reduce the collection of residual waste. Otherwise, you're just making an additional effort. And that's a typical situation in which you say, well, let's introduce separate collection of biowaste, but let's leave the residual like it is. Especially if you have bring banks on the road. You have to try and dare remove residual waste containers, reduce the frequency of residual waste. Then there is, okay, KPI 7 is of utmost importance. How much No, this is okay. This is again important, but it's not the most important one. If you are reducing residual waste with respect to the baseline situation, because we want to increase bio-waste collection, but at the same time reducing residual waste. But KPI 8 is very important. How much bio-waste is inside residual waste? What does it mean? If you do separate collection, then you are taking away some part of bio-waste to the collection stream. If you are doing home composting, you are as well diverting bio-waste from residual waste. And if you are doing food waste prevention, there are a lot of people of ReZero here that are focusing on waste prevention, obviously. This is of utmost important, but you have to measure it. And if you measure that there is no bio-waste inside residual waste, it means that either you have prevented it, or you home composted it, or you separately collected it. So it's a kind of comprehensive indicator to measure these effectiveness. Yeah, okay. Then collection cost, again, very important. Percentage of diversion rate is another way of measuring the diversion from landfill and incineration. And the final one is economic incentives. Are they present or not, and to which extent? I'm giving the floor to Stefan for the treatment indicators.
Yep, thank you very much. So although we are not focusing today on the treatment part later on in the workshop, we still wanted to present to you the indicators that we developed for the treatment. And we also separate them in different categories, which is basically the quality of input and output materials, the economy of the treatment unit, then specifically again focusing on the specific quality of the output, and then further or later the legal obligations and targets that may exist to treat bio-waste. So the first one still is closely connected to a KPI from the collection system, KPI 12, which is the ratio between the rejects of a treatment plant and compared to your total input material. So how much of your actual material are you losing while treating bio-waste due to impurities? The second one that is also very closely connected to this one is the so-called dragging factor. So within a recycling facility, you still have again the overall rejects, but you compare it to physical contamination in your input material. So let's say in the beginning, in your input, you might have, like, let's say 5% of impurities, but you're losing 10–20% of your total material, since you have to treat or pre-treat your bio-waste in order to come up with a high quality compost in the end, or digestate. So these are the two referring to the quality of input materials. Further going on to the economy of the treatment unit, the ratio between treatment costs might be an incentive to promote bio-waste treatment compared to mixed or residual waste with increasing costs, or putting taxes on treatment of residual waste might encourage bio-waste or separate collection of bio-waste and enforcing a higher collection rate to treat more bio-waste. So this is the part for the overall treatment, and then we have two very similar KPIs, KPI 15 and 16, that include the price for the final product. So it might be either compost or digestate, and here we are looking at the average price that an entity might make made from the compost, from the sales of compost to agriculture, to households, to horticulture, and so on. And then also compare it with the premium price that you can sell it. So selling it to different industries might generate a higher price, for instance. And then after the economy, of course, it's important to measure the quality of the output material. The quantity of plastic residues, either in compost or in digestate, and that can also be compared to your input material. And then lastly, I have to look here. This is mainly to make a check-up of the legal obligations in a region or a country. So whether there's a legal prescription to sort for bio-waste specific waste generators. So whether it is you collect for households, you collect for restaurants, you collect for other businesses, that should be measured as well. And then whether they are targets, specific targets, they should be compared to the local situation, whether you are complying with the targets or not. And then finally, the overall targets for municipal solid waste as a whole. Yeah, that was the main part of the KPIs.
Thank you so much, Stefan and Michele. So now it's finally time for the Q&A session. So just a quick reminder, either if you are online or in person, feel free to ask your questions. We can take all the questions from the audience, and we will have about 15 minutes for that. And you can obviously ask questions to Michele and Stefan, but also to all the speakers that have previously presented their system. So the floor is yours, whether you are online in person. Yeah?
Thank you. I have a question for Michele and Stefan. It's about if you have worked with in the direction of the integration of indicators, because as you know, maybe in Catalonia we have 25 treatment facilities or different separate collection models. So the indicators, maybe if you ask us to give you our indicators, our value, so we need to integrate them. And have you worked in that direction? Thank you.
Not that one, typically it's just the percentage of separate collection. This is the obligation by law. All the others are elements to guide a new city or a new territory towards these new achievements. It is true that some are more important than others, more probably, but in some territories some indicator may be more important than the other. So if you want to sum up everything into one, it should be really territorial. I'm saying, for instance, the price of the sale of compost is of utmost importance in Mediterranean region, or in a region in which the landfill price is so low that you need to sell the compost. While, for instance, in Italy, it's not much important because the gate fee for the treatment is very high. So even if you sell the compost at a low price, economic viability is okay. So the weighing of the importance of the different sub-indicators is really territorial to my understanding. But it's a good point to be working with that.
Yeah, maybe talking about it from another angle. So when we, or also I, work with municipalities and we speak about collecting the KPIs, and some of the municipalities, they were not aware of them, and then we explain to them what might be their benefit of having them. So basically like a down to top approach, that they find it interesting or they find them valuable. they would maybe start a process of going also up to policymakers and saying, hey, this indicator might be very valuable for us, and we might be in need to use them to give better, to showcase better that we are doing a good collection and a treatment, and to better also compare within European countries, which is currently maybe still an issue that you can compare easily between different situations, that makes it easier to have certain KPIs that allows for it.
Okay, the person who is online has a question, can speak. I guess we can hear you. Yes, we hear you. Yeah, we do. Yes, yes, we are hearing you. Okay, I guess it's a question for everyone who wishes to answer. My first question will be, did you understand the question of Mikel? Was it clear? No, I think, Mikel, can you rephrase it maybe in one sentence? Okay, Mikel, I think some of the participants didn't really understand the question. Maybe you could rephrase it in one sentence. I should say it again. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yes, I was just suggesting if you could rephrase the sentence in, like, the question in one sentence for the one of the participants who did not understand it. Thank you. Yeah. Does someone want to answer that question? Yeah.
Of course, DRS is a great system and should be implemented regardless of organic waste collection. But I think, like from our experience, the biggest challenge and biggest impurities coming from single-use items, and probably the single-use plastic bag bans would work, would bring much more, not much, are more essential if we are talking about the improvement and decreasing the impurities of organic collection. Yep.
Good point, indeed. Focusing again on bio-waste and food waste collection and trying to link that on deposit refund system, which is typically on containers like plastic bottles and glass bottles. It may appear to be different arguments and different issues, but this is true. If you go for deposit refund system, which is good, yeah, there is a debate ongoing, but I will not enter into that. You are kind of giving to this system basically plastic bottles and something more, maybe some packaging. But all the little contaminants, plastic contaminants that are, you know, the single-use micro-plastic items, probably they will again end up into bio-waste collection if there is no strategy in sensitizing people to not use those kind of plastic, and please do not put it in bio-waste. So that's my point. Yeah, deposit refund is a story, but strictly related to bottles and glass and plastic bottles, and something more if you look at the German and, you know, Northern European experience. But really, we have to focus on all the other items made up of plastics, which is really an issue right now.
Thank you. We have time maybe for one or two more questions. Yeah.
My question is to all presenters from the city. Each of you mentioned that it's important to have a user identification and the tagged system. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? What kind of information? And it also comes to the KPIs you can get from this system, and how much more expensive it is compared to untagged system, if you know, maybe. And what is this like cost efficient? Does it bring more to separate collection, taking into account the cost increase for this user identification? Thank you.
I answer in Catalan, okay? I understand you, but for me the question is not the what kind of technical thing do you use to identify the people. The main thing is that you don't have the correct database of the people who plays in this game. So for me, which gadget do you use to do the control is not important. There are a lot of mechanisms to do this control, but the main thing is that the database that you use to identify each activity or each inhabitant is that, at least in Ripollet, I think in the whole of Spain or even Catalonia, is the worst part. You don't have a correct database to identify which is who is who. I mean, you know. No, just the name. At this moment, at the beginning, just the name and maybe how many people live in each house, for example. But yeah, because we have a lot of problems about the data protection. You cannot collect or you cannot ask for what are your age or if you are a man or female, or because at this moment, maybe is one of the problems that we have with the personal data protection. And when you try to, and solutions, but in the beginning, and the haters of this kind of systems attack the system through this this issue, the personal data protection. Or no, names and addresses, or fiscal addresses, and at least in people that we use this because it's the way that you need less personal information to be able to.
To whom target the campaign. If you know that mainly young people participate and you need increase the participation of the older people, say, but so that's probably the something to.
The key point is to only ask for the data you need. You should demonstrate that you need that and you will use that data, and you should inform before the citizens or the producers that this data is going to be used for that effect or that objective. That's the key question. To use only the necessary data and inform previously which is the objective to give this data.
Maybe one more reactions, yeah?
I think the data we try to keep is the data of how many times people participate, especially in bio-waste or the residual waste, because it's the way for next year we are trying to have a fair tax. So we are going to bonus the people who do it correctly, and people who don't recycle to have to pay more. So I think that's why we want all this data. The problem is, at least in where I work, and I suppose with my colleagues is the same, it's complicated because you don't have enough people, or people we are not enough expertise how to treat all this data we get. We've got 40,000 people that every night take some time off residual, so we get lots of readings next day. And to treat all that and to get to have a fair tax through all that is very complicated. And that's what you need good programs. That's the problem we have now, that we don't have enough people or the way to treat this data. For us, that's the main problem at the moment, not to have the readings, because as he said, the technology has improved lots over the years. And if you got a good service, normally you get the readings right. So it's more how you treat that to get a fair tax, and how you control that all these taxes are correct.
I think, Francesc, you wanted to add something more?
Thank you. Congratulations for this good job. KPI is very interesting, and it's a need. I saw that for quality of output for compost or digestate, you propose to use the measure of plastic, the presence of plastic in compost or digestate. I wonder if you have also considered the possibility of taking into account the heavy metal content in compost or in digestate. Did you consider it? Any of you? Thank you.
Thanks, Francesc, for this question. Indeed, the content of heavy metals is quite related to the impurity. It is related to the impurities in the food waste you collect. It is also true that it depends a lot on the kind of pre-treatment and post-treatment you make, and that there is a national regulation, the European fertilizer regulation now, that mandates some measurement of heavy metals. So this is not included as a kind of new KPI, in the sense that you have to measure, because to make a compost, you have to measure heavy metals. You have also to measure plastic contents, but you know that there is a specific measure of plastic contents, which maybe is not the most appropriate, because if you measure, for instance, microplastics, they can be inside the compost, and it can be a good quality compost, paradoxically, because you have to measure up to 10 millimeters and so on. So the content of plastics inside compost can be even a different indicator with respect to the existing one of the national legislation, while heavy metals probably is enough to have that kind of measurement. If you comply with that, you are quite okay. But for the plastic presence, it's a new word, because maybe we could propose to measure other kind of plastic and microplastics inside compost and digest it, which is currently not measured. So it's kind of new way to go.
Thank you so much. So unfortunately, we have no more time for questions. I will suggest we go for the coffee break. We have about 20-25 minutes break. You'll have outside some coffee, juice, and I think some snacks. You can, of course, use this time to ask more questions to the speakers, okay? And for the online participants, similarly, you have 20-25 minutes break, and like a member of our team will let you know maybe 5 minutes before that we will start, yeah? Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, let's get started again. I will kindly ask you to get back to your seats. And yeah, you can obviously continue eating if you're still eating. I hope you had a nice coffee break and that the food was nice. The coffee was nice too. Okay. So before to start, I would like to let you all know that we are running a bit late on the program, so I can predict that we'll run like 20-30 minutes late. And I know some of you might not be able to stay until the end, but please come to me to the next break to just let me know so we know exactly who can stay until the end or not, yeah? But there will be lunch, so if you leave early, you will miss the nice lunch. And for the online participants, similarly, if you cannot stay until 2:30, which we completely understand because it's already a big event to follow online, just let us know in the chat. That's it. Okay, so we will get to the second part, and in this second part, we will address policy, regulatory barriers, and solution. And I will welcome to the stage Mike and Lauriane, which are partners from the BioBest project as well. And yeah.
All right, hello everyone again. Hold on. Okay. Maybe up here. No, just hold it. All right, I hope you all had a nice snack time. We will now continue with a little bit of discussion about the regulatory barriers. So as part of the project, the LIFE BioBest project, over the last few months, one of our main focuses, especially on the end side, has been to draft a policy brief about the regulatory and policy barriers that stand between the municipalities and the successful implementation of bio-waste management and practices. So when we're thinking about these regulatory barriers, and we're thinking about the analysis of how to help municipalities, what we're really looking at is the distance between theory and practice. So where does policy meet the pavement? Where can we imagine that municipalities perhaps are having difficulty interpreting the policy set on perhaps high levels of the institutional or legal framework, and how are they interpreting that with varying levels of success? And so On one side, we have the objectives and the goals, and on the other side, we have the reality of the situation. And so really that divider between those two is what we're looking at. And the goal here is through the study of this that we'll be able to better equip ourselves and those municipalities to provide recommendations about how to overcome those barriers, whether that be in any number of categories of instruments. And so, excuse me. So what were our main tasks to begin with were how to categorize these barriers. So we worked across the LIFE BioBest consortium, and we drafted an extensive list, as exhaustive as possible, of the different regulatory and policy barriers. And what we really did when we did that is we looked at what is said already by the European Commission in places such as the early warning report, which has now two, there's the first one in which and I think it was 2020, and the last one came out just a few months ago. So we compiled those barriers, along with the barriers mentioned in the country reports as well. And with all those barriers, we started to categorize. And so, number one, we have the topic. And the topic, in this case, well, actually, I'll just go through all of them. Then the level of governance. I put in some wonderful animations to keep us awake, hopefully. And so the topic, we have a couple of different ones. We have economic, health, environmental, legal, administrative, organizational, technical, and social. So by placing each of the barriers in their rightful place, we're hopefully better able to locate the different agencies and institutions needed to mobilize to confront that barrier. But once again, as we'll later see with a few barriers, some of them can be interpreted in many different ways. So that's something to consider. Steps in the management cycle. So where does this barrier exist? Is it a barrier in collection? Is it a barrier in treatment? Does it affect both collection and treatment? Or is it more of a barrier that has to do with the use of outputs? And then level of governance. So in this wonderful European federal system, where does the barrier exist? Is it being mandated by the EU, or is it being a lack of interpretation on the national level, regional level, municipal level? And so, with that, I'll just go through a couple descriptions of a few different barriers. So with the economic barriers, what we're really looking for is how certain regulatory barriers interrupt the conduits of financial incentive and motivation. So where do these barriers kind of lose traction with the ability of the municipality to fund them and feel feel economically motivated to take them on? So on the national level, we have disposal, whether that be incinerators or landfills, and the low cost of those landfills. And by the redirection of those finances, perhaps that money can be used as a motivator to finance projects such as bio-waste management. On the regional level, there's a lack of incentive. There might be a lack of incentives for local authorities to take on the burden, or as they might see it, a burden to solid waste, bio-waste management. And on the municipal level, what are the barriers that perhaps the individual has to participating in the scheme, in the system? And so really, in some ways, the citizen also has to be under a financial incentive to even participate. In terms of health environmental, as we've already spoken about through in one way or another, in optimal situations, there is, of course, compost is of good quality, can be used in agriculture as a commodity. But in suboptimal conditions, we have to consider the health and environmental barriers that obstruct that passage. So what kind of treatments and collection practices lead to bad results, and bad results being contaminated output, whether that be by microplastics, heavy metals, or general other kinds of pollutions. Legal administrative barriers really deal with the legal system that falls down to the municipality, from the heights of the EU down through all the levels of government. And so in this category, we're looking more at policy and the interpretation of that policy We're looking at strategies and plans, as well as those, the integration of those best practices and designs into the policy design. Organizational, and now with organizational, we're starting to bridge down to the municipality. So organizational is really kind of the bridge between theoretical and practical. How are these institutions communicating with one another and moving those policies from paper to practice? And so this all depends on the institutional capacity, which is very hard to measure because, of course, institutions and political institutions are nebulous in and of themselves. But we have poor institutional organization, for example, on the regional level. In many countries, as we've seen throughout the interviews we did, there's a number of different institutions, both public and private, that have to be synchronized to make these efforts, to make these initiatives happen. So are those are both the public and private sphere in communication about how to implement this policy? And then on the municipal level, is the municipality managing and implementing effective communication campaigns? This is key because, you know, if without the public buy-in, this is where really the public programs lose their traction. And so in the next one, we have the social, which is exactly that. What are the social stigmas that various authorities or special interest groups have against bio-waste management? And what we're really dealing with here is the stigmatization. So on the one hand, we have the stigmatization of people not wanting to handle their trash. They for some reason or another, they're deterred by the odors, the practice, whatever it may be. And on another level, we have stigmatization, perhaps on the agricultural level, about the use of these outputs. On both fronts, public awareness is necessary to target society, as large as it is, and to destigmatize waste and bio-waste and compost and digestate use. And lastly, the most, perhaps the most, the instrument closest to the ground in practice are technical instruments. So how can we leverage technical instruments to overcome some of these other barriers and make the participation both easy and convenient for the user, and to make different treatment practices also the incentive, perhaps, of the municipality. And so, in the process of discussing the regulatory barriers, we also wanted to make a distinction about the local challenges and the local strategies, which Lorian will also speak to shortly. So, what we're really thinking about is the difference between systemic and contextual. For example, in a city like New York City, to put somewhere on the map, they have a very big problem, a big rat problem. Huge rat problem. Is that a systemic issue? No. That is a contextual situation in New York City that they have to overcome. There is not perhaps a systemic overarching legal framework that would be applied to tackle that exact problem. And then moving along, one more click. So yeah, we have wild animal problems, extreme weather, language barriers, and garden waste influxes that may affect and overwhelm the system. And so we have local challenges, and then on the systemic barrier side, just one more click there, more examples of the barriers that we came up with. So once again, we're really trying to drive home this idea that these regulatory and policy barriers and local challenges both need to be kind of synchronized and considered in order to have an effective bio-waste strategy in the municipality. And so, just a small preview, a short preview of the results we have so far. For example, here we have the graph, the frequency graph of detection from the organizational barriers. And so we worked with, over these last few months, we've been interviewing something like 18 or 20 experts across many member states, considering geographical distinctions as well. And so here we have the results of the detection of the responses to these organizational barriers. So as we can see here, the yellow is detected in both, the white in the pre-existing sources, which are the country reports and the early warning reports. The yellow is by both sources, and then the blue, if we just go back, is by LIFE BIOBEST. So as we can see there, we have been able to add to the conversation pretty substantially, which was our goal, because we increased the detection of these barriers by quite a bit, and we validated in the process many of the barriers mentioned in the early warning report and the country report. Why is this important? Well, once again, as I mentioned at the beginning, this information helps us to better evaluate what are the pressing, urgent barriers that are being faced by municipalities. And then on the other hand, this is an example of our barrier distribution map. So we categorize the different countries that we worked with, Northern Europe, Western Europe, Eastern, Central, and Southern Europe. And then quite straightforwardly, we made a list and marked all of the barriers with a nice banana that were detected in those member states. Our idea here was to see if there were any regional distinctions that we could evaluate. In this case, it's difficult because, once again, the regional distinctions often are those local challenges, those differences in weather, difference if they have raccoons or rats or wild pigs that are going into the bio-waste. So yeah, that's a preview of what we've been working on. I hope that maybe is interesting on some level. I'd like to pass the mic to Lorianne to continue the discussion.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I just wanted to talk to you about the first co-creation event that ACR Plus organized. So ACR Plus is working on 3 co-creation events. The first one was organized in June 2023, and we worked with 15 local authorities, local and waste authorities located throughout Europe to identify the barriers that they are facing for their bio-waste collection system. Maybe I'll skip this one, but just so you know, we had quite a big representation of different management system, better or a bit worse performance. So we did have a good coverage of Europe. So we asked them to identify their barriers based on 3 categories. So local strategy, their local bio-waste management strategy, their local context, so like Mike said, the topography or the population, and the policy framework. So we asked them to identify this barrier, to then rank them from low impacting barrier to high impacting barrier. And then we also presented to them the barrier that us BioBest partner had identified. I'll try to be quick. I won't talk about all of them, so I'm only going to detail the ones that are in italic. The rest will be found in the guidelines. So regarding the collection, the barrier related to the local strategy, one that came up quite a lot was the difficulty to monitor the individual compliances to sorting guidelines. So both the sorting of bio-waste and then the contamination of the bins, it was just usually a lack of human and finance resources to do that. There was also a lack of inspection systems for commercial waste producer in addition to the one for households. Next one, please. Regarding the local context for the collection, big one that came a lot was the high-rise buildings. So the issue with the poor quality and quantity of bio-waste separately collected in high-rise buildings because of the difficulty just to reach the inhabitants with the communication strategy, and also the difficulty to have a monitoring system traced back to the individuals. Sometimes the bio-waste was so poor that it had to be also treated with residual waste instead, so that was a big challenge. Next one, please. Thank you. Regarding the legal framework, related to the first one I mentioned is the lack of enforcement to make bio-waste compulsory. So it's obviously linked to the lack of monitoring. If you cannot monitor, it's harder to enforce because you don't know what you have really to enforce. But also it was linked mainly to a lack of manpower and finances, and also because it's rather unpopular measures for politicians to enforce. So regarding mainly then the treatment, and we grouped local strategy and context together just for the sake of time and repetitiveness of the event. But the main one that came was the need for pre-treatment. So that is obviously linked with the quality of the bio-waste input that comes to the treatment plant. If this bio-waste is not, has too high impurity, there's a need to pre-treat it, which can also decrease the quantity of the bio-waste, which can be an issue. And then it also obviously increases the cost of the treatment per kilogram or ton of bio-waste. Thank you. And then related to the legal framework, that was a really important one for most of the administrative local authority, was the amount of bureaucracy and administration paperwork that need to be filled to build a new treatment unit. So you need a lot of permits that are usually can be treated at national level, which then blocks the system, which makes it less efficient because everyone in all the regions need to go to this one institution to have their permit accepted or not. And then also the lack of flexibility in the bureaucracy. So even if you want to implement a small treatment plant, you still need to go through quite a lot of bureaucracy, and you obviously have less manpower if you want to implement a smaller treatment plant than a bigger one. And then there was also an issue with the lack of support for these agencies that were treating the permit request. So that made it less clear for them. The stakeholders wanted to implement it. Yes. And then related to the use of outputs. So the local strategy, for the local strategy and local context, a big issue again was the lack of knowledge regarding the outputs. So knowledge regarding the application of the outputs onto the field, their impact on the soil and on the crops. And how to, this lack of knowledge created also a lack of market because people don't know how to use it, so don't want to buy it in the first place. No way. And then finally, the barriers related to the use of outputs regarding the legal framework. Well, as I just mentioned, there was an important one is the lack of market for these outputs. There's a competition with different fertilizers that are maybe cheaper to produce, like sewage sludge or other chemical fertilizers. And there's also a lack of economic resources to implement marketing campaigns to boost the use of compost and digestate, which obviously is not so much an issue for chemical fertilizers since they have more finances. And this is the discussion. Good? Great, thank you.
So now we will have 5-10 minutes to collect a bit of your inputs and reactions to what has been presented. These are just suggestions of questions to trigger the discussion, but of course if you have other things to say, feel free to do it. Sorry.
I guess I will first ask if there's any question. It's great, it's nice.
Have you identified as a stakeholders and have you talked to institutional investors? For example, someone from European Investment Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, because you mentioned that one of the barriers is lack of the treating capacity. And do you know how much we are lacking in the treating capacity in general? And then, because for our country especially, the biggest barrier is financing of the establishing a treatment capacity, and that in the people that are doing waste management project with the banks, large banks who provide loans, they used to work with MBT, incinerators, etc., and they rarely know how to calculate the whole financial system for the bio-waste treatment plants, including the financials that might come from the cooperation with agriculture. And for me, it's the biggest problem that probably we have to look at.
Yeah, so in the course of our interviews and our research, we have been considering the funds and the investment. The number one thing that we noticed in the existing research is that there is a note of over-reliance on EU funds. So as I'm sure you're all aware, the next generation funds coming down from the EU have been a huge stimulus package across Europe. But in some cases, that money is not being used appropriately, or it's simply not arriving to the necessary, pockets. And so what we have been working on is how to think about EU funds and how to think about these investments that can be made on upper levels. But for the longevity and the durability of a lot of these programs, these EU funds are imperative and they're very important, but for the maintenance costs over long periods of time, there also needs to be kind of a buoyancy, we could say, for these programs to be self-sufficient and not be over-reliant on those funds for a long time, because that, in the end, will not be for their best interest. Any other questions? Yeah, Michele.
The same line, talking about funds and financing. Talking about funds and financing, did you find in your survey any evidence of the lacking of specific mechanisms for financing, specifically by waste collection and treatment? I don't mean by financing infrastructure, like treatment plants or, the CapEx, but on the other hand, to finance the collection itself because it's not self-sustainable. Did you find evidence of this?
Yeah, I think the best way I can address that question would be to talk about political and elected representatives. Across almost all of the member states we spoke to, as Lorian had mentioned, it is not a politically advantageous role to take up to implement bio-waste management. And because of that, there is a reticence, a reluctance to implement and to open these conduits of capital to make the separate collection a viable option. And so really what needs to happen, one of our things Gemini have been thinking about is how to uniformly implement these policies, perhaps on a higher level, so that they fall across all political parties, all elected representatives, to the same extent, so that none of them can find the political expedience of moving around the implementation of bio-waste, separate collection and treatment.
Good morning, Ricardo. I have one question. During your study, I was aware during I'm not working in Europe, but I noticed there is a good example from Catalonia that is regarding the use of landfill tax to support bio-waste. Is something that is one case only, or do you feel that during our study that is something that is going to be considered as the right approach? Because you can be financing bio-waste, you can be financing recycling projects. I can say this because in Portugal, if I'm not mistaken, 10 years ago, the landfill tax was like kind of a money that then the government was giving to awareness campaigns. What I'm saying, this seems more direct. So the money goes from one side to promote another side, and not go for education. I'm not saying that it will not have results, but you don't have immediate results like what's going on now in Barcelona.
So with the experts in the room on Catalonia, I would definitely say that they could probably speak in far more depth than I can, as I come from Navarra. But certainly there is a great importance on disposal taxes in general, whether that be a landfill tax, an incineration tax, and redirecting those funds back to awareness campaigns or making a circle, so that there is kind of a takeout or an output-input mechanism happening. What we have seen through our study too is that in many cases, there exist landfill taxes across the European Union, but in some cases, those taxes are not sufficient enough they're not being applied, or they're not motivating authorities to make the changes. In fact, in some cases, we've seen that municipalities prefer to pay the penalties as opposed to implementing a higher, I'm sorry, I'm butchering this. Yeah, they prefer to pay a higher tax, the penalties, rather than increasing the tax. So they're effectively skirting around the implementation, the diversion of landfills and incineration. So all that to say, there needs to be an effective cost to the landfills incinerators.
What I understand from the approach that there is here in Barcelona, the landfill tax then returned to the municipality based on the quality of bio-waste they deliver in the compost plant, correct? So if they invest on increasing the quality of their compost, they will have a higher percentage of landfill tax, or at least the quantity they will receive from them. So what I'm saying is, they have interest to improve because they will have the return of that money. I don't know if this is a good money or not money. That is enough for them to change the process, to move all the operation, to support. What I'm saying is, from my personal opinion, initially this landfill tax was used by different governments to go to the market and say, my friends, do you have any projects of awareness? We'll give you the money back to support 30%, 40% of your project, and you implement it. This way, you are tackling basically a problem that you have in one waste stream, that is the bio-waste, by at the same time minimizing the waste that you are coming to the landfill. So you are winning 2 times. So education, I'm not saying that it will take time to reach the same level that you can use in this system. Is why I said that is a very good approach.
You will have lunchtime also to harass all the speakers with more questions. So, yeah. Let's go on with the next part of this second part, and we will discover the best practices and current challenges, or, yeah, 2 cases. We'll let Gemma.
So now to introduce best practices and current challenges, we have the case of Sant Cugat, that is a municipality of the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and we have here Esteve Jimenez, and we'll be introducing the model, because they are now launching a tender to modify the collection system. And they also have home composting and community composting, and a big city with a lot of challenges. So Esteve, if you want to come and introduce your case. The presentation will be in Catalan, so okay.
Hola, bon dia. Perdoneu que la meva companya Marisa no ha pogut venir.
Good morning. Sorry, my colleague Marisa couldn't come, and that's why I'm here. Can you all hear me? Sant Cugat is a municipality with 25 kilometers away from Barcelona. It has a lot of woodlands. 40% of it has woodlands, and we have urban development next to the city center. We have an old town that's quite dense. The average age of people in Sant Cugat is of about 50 years, so we are young, I guess. And our social and cultural level is quite high, and this eases very much the promotional campaigns we carry out. Let me share with you what we have currently. The waste collection system, we have different waste collection systems. On the one hand, we have these containers, open containers, On the other hand, we also have underground deposits, and we have a door-to-door system in one neighborhood called Baldureș. We have no user identification system so far, so we do not know whose bag we're collecting. And on the other hand, we have tested out community compost tests. We did a pilot test in Soria and Canberra, neighborhoods with about 600 inhabitants, and the results have been good, and we will extend the system. On the other hand, in terms of compost and organic fraction collection, we have about 600 private compost systems, and it works quite well. Okay, how has the organic fraction collection evolved? In 2004, we started implementing the collection of organic fraction in bins of 240 liters. That was a first step forward. In 2010, we increased the volume of the container from 240 liters to 1,000. We gave the same importance to the organic fraction as to the rest. And in 2011, we made a leap forward. We started controlling collection systems with GPS systems, with weighing systems, and that made it go up very much, this selective collection and the rest. The general waste collection was reduced by half thanks to this. And with the control system, which is basic, we believe that we're making a lot of progress. Sorry about that. Bear with us. Sorry, bear with us, says the speaker. Okay. Within the municipality of Sant Cugat, we have different collection areas. The first one is door-to-door, as I've just said, which is a decentralized metropolitan institution within the municipality. All of the area in the municipality has closed deposits, and these woodland areas has composters. It has compost stations. In the future, what shall we do? What will we do? This is what's important. Well, we should have had a tender 2 years ago for bureaucracy issues. It has not yet been presented. We hope it will, we will have the tender in December, and in 1 year we will have a new collection system. On the one hand, we will have containers, closed containers, for 2 fractions. So we have the rest and organic. So there will be fine. All of these containers will be covering 70% of the municipality. In the city center, we will have the selective collection system, i.e., with certain hours a day, people will be able to leave their waste, and it will be controlled with a closure. It's going to be a pilot test. If it works, we will extend it. It only affects the old town right now. On the other hand, we will introduce retail selective collection for the 5 fractions. Right now, we only have cardboard. We have had a lot of problems because of the municipal roster. We will see how we go about that. And on the other hand, we will extend the community compost system to other areas with closed compost systems. All of this is reused by the users themselves. because we have many areas that are low density and with a lot of potential uses. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, the introducing of community composters is interesting in a big city, and also to combine different models as we see before with the other experiences. So now it's time for Victor Michans, head of programs and studies of the metropolitan area, that will explain the strategy of the metropolitan area, and also the lead that they are leading and accompanying the municipalities to improve the bio-waste and waste collection with new designs and new instruments. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So, well, I'll start with the presentation. I'm Victor Michans. I'm responsible for waste prevention and planning in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. The metropolitan area, let's try and see if it can be done. Yeah? Okay. So, the metropolitan area of Barcelona is a second-level administration. It works it provides services to the 36 municipalities surrounding Barcelona, including Barcelona itself, that amount to 3.2 million inhabitants. Okay. No es pot posar...
Download?
No, però... So we provide... Okay, that's it. It's okay. We provide services to the municipalities. We provide services for the public transportation system. We are also responsible of urban planning, and we are responsible for waste treatment. Okay, so the 36 municipalities have competences over the collection system, so they can decide which system to use, which model to use. But we, as a second-level administration, are the owners of the facilities where the waste that is collected in the municipalities is transported to be treated. Okay. We are also responsible for the collection coordination, something like that. Okay, and this gives us some space to try and work together with the municipalities to improve their collection systems. Okay. Currently, in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, we have a lot of different systems. We have the standard model with 5 different flows, fractions that are being prepared. We have glass, paper, cardboard, organic waste, and lightweight packaging. And then we have the mixed waste bin. This is the most common system in the metropolitan area. Most of the municipalities, including most of Barcelona, collect these flows with open bins. And now we are at around 35 to 40% of collection rate. Okay? And this collection rate has been stagnated in the last decade or so. We have another model, for small municipalities, which is called Residu Minim, minimal waste. It was the first separate collection system that existed in the metropolitan area of Barcelona and even in Catalonia, and only 4 fractions are being separated: glass, paper, organic waste, and then all the other inorganic waste together. Okay, I won't discuss the pros and cons of each of the systems, but this is our reality. And we have mostly open bins, as I told you, but we have a couple, well, 1, 2, and 3 municipalities that amount around 25,000 inhabitants that have introduced smart bins. We will see the results later. And we have also 3 municipalities that are using the door-to-door collection system. We have more smart bins planned. We have also more door-to-door collection planned. And we have Ripollet, that Aleix has already told you, that they have this mixed collection system, which is quite promising in face of the difficulty to provide an efficient collection system in the metropolitan reality that ranges from Barcelona, a very dense city, this Hospitalet and Sant Adrià, Badalona, more suburban cities with also high density, complicated socio-economic situation. So it's not easy to decide which is the best system for all the municipalities. Oh, no, hi hauria d'haver un altre abans. No? Okay, so, tira enrere, sí. So what we did at the metropolitan level was to create some sort of governance between the metropolitan government and technical staff and the municipalities, both also at political and technical level. So we decided that the open bin system had reached its maximum collection rate. So we could not keep on using this collection system, and we should go either to smart bins or to door-to-door collection system. Okay, this for one side. And we also decided that we should use fiscal instruments, the waste collection tax, to improve and to help to promote good behaviors when it comes to separate collection, both for domestic waste and commercial waste. Okay, so this was a political decision. This was called the Zero Waste Agreement, Metropolitan Zero Waste Agreement, and we have time until 2025 to implement these new collection models, smart bins or door-to-door or mixed systems, and to transform the current fiscal system to a system that promotes and helps deploying this collection system. Okay, so what did we do? What did we do? You have seen that some of the barriers that prevent municipalities to implement good collection system is that they don't have economic resources, they have technical problems, they have not a lot of staff, and normally the technicians are overwhelmed by managing the day-to-day situation. So we decided that at metropolitan level we would help them to plan. We set a public tender in order to have some consultants to help us decide which was the best system in each of the municipalities. We create joint groups with the technicians and the politicians of the different municipalities, and for each of them we decided or we created like a document that was the roadmap for them to implement these new collection systems. Okay. There were technical discussions, then the politicians came in and they decided to change some of the technical decisions. This happens always, and we need to be prepared for this. And finally, 2 years ago, we had these documents for all the municipalities. We made the same process for the reform of the waste collection taxes. So we helped the municipalities to create a good structure of not pay-as-you-throw schemes, but to reduce the tax for those who were using the bio-waste collection system. So we keep track of those who participate in bio-waste collection and those who not. And then we are telling municipalities to create a double taxation system, one for those who participate, and which is lower, less money they have to pay, and one that is more costly for those who do not separate. And, I think that this is a good decision, and that this helps to unlock or to jump over these barriers that would have made more difficult for municipalities to implement efficient collection systems. The work is not still done. We still have some years to go, and we have changing political teams in the municipalities every 4 years, so it's not an easy task. But at least the roadmap is written, and we already have some analysis of the results of bio-waste collection in those municipalities that already have identification systems. So if you want, we have, here we have data of 4 municipalities that have introduced door-to-door collection system. And the two they have been, Torrelles and Tiana were one of the first municipalities in Catalonia to implement door-to-door collection system. They are already at good quality levels, around below 10%. They have been here for many years, and they have been collecting 60 to 80 kilos per inhabitant per year. This is around 70 to 85% collection rate, according to our correct analysis of waste. And if you see, when these municipalities introduced door-to-door collection system, Corbera introduced it here, and Santa Coloma de Cervelló introduced it here. They kept the quality much better than before. You can see it here in the green line, and they multiplied by 3 or 4 the amount of bio-waste collected, and they are now in line with the better performing municipalities, around 80 kilos per inhabitant and per year. We also analyzed the smart bins only in 2 municipalities. We have full data for only 2 municipalities. And you can see here that the quality is more variable. It's around 5 to 20% quality. And here, Papiol, one of the municipalities, introduced the closed bins, and maybe we saw an increase of the quality of the bio-waste. And here we saw that, apparently there is also a reduction of impurities in the Montgat case. But what we have seen in those 2 municipalities is that the net amount of bio-waste collected hasn't changed that much. They were already at not bad levels of collection, but what we have seen is that the quality improves, but not the amount in the case of smart bins. And then we have the case of Ripollet, which you have already seen. And here we see also like an important increase, although the model is not yet deployed in all the municipality, but we have duplicated the amount of bio-waste, net bio-waste that is being collected in the municipality. What else have we done? Well, every year we have a communication campaign in order to keep people like reminding that they have to separate not only bio-waste but all the fractions. This is the current situation when it comes to taxing. So there are still many municipalities in this gray color that don't have waste collection tax. This is an opportunity for us to create good taxes that promote separate collection. And we have to reform the blues and greens that already have tax, but in some cases are only, so they have the same amount of money they have to pay in all the households, and in other cases they have some modulation, but not according to waste creation, but according to surface or some indirect approach to the waste production. So, challenges and model adaptation. So I already said that planning separate collection in an heterogeneous area such as the metropolitan area of Barcelona, it's not easy. You have very different realities, urbanistic and socioeconomic. We still have something that, we don't know how it will work. Now we have these collection levels without any fair tax or any pay-as-you-throw scheme or any approach such as this. And we want to believe that when we introduce these instruments, we won't compromise quality of, especially of bio-waste. Maybe someone that doesn't want to be taxed in the higher level has the temptation to use the bio-waste bin as a place to put the mixed waste, and this will have some effect on the quality. We don't know that. What happens with the smart bins? With door-to-door collection, you have a control of the quality and the quantity at the point where you collect, but with the smart bins, this is more diffuse. You don't know exactly who puts what in the bin, although you have you can keep track of who opens the bin or not, but this is something that we still don't know. I know that some other countries like Italy have more experience, but we are a little bit expecting what will happen. And also, the role of inspection, this has also been said before, that is an opportunity for us to improve participation. And conclusions and lessons learned. Commercial collection is the place to start. It's the easiest and can provide 20–30% of the overall bio-waste production. User identification improves quality in all cases, but only door-to-door collection apparently provides high-quality targets. We have now an 8% maximum according to the Catalan law. Door-to-door appears to be decisive to increase the bio-waste amount. I've already said that. And what is very important is that you control the mixed waste fraction. So the experience of Ripollet that is using smart bins for bio-waste, but door-to-door collection for mixed waste is very promising, because controlling that people doesn't use that much the mixed waste collection system promotes a separate collection in all the other waste floors. And we could say that a ranking of quantity quality could be like this, but this is our experience with very little municipalities, and we still have to keep on analyzing more and more data. And the last thing that I would say is that there has been the discussion about how to finance the bio-waste collection system. I think that something that we should bear in mind is that nowadays the public budget for waste management is divided between bio-waste and all the other waste flows, paper, packaging, and so on. And the more EPR schemes we have, the less we need to divert from bio-waste collection to other fractions. And this would be aligned with the idea of polluters pays principle and of the producer responsibility. So we need more EPR schemes, and we need more efficient collection systems for those flows that have EPR producer responsibility. I think that this is something that should be put on the table when we discuss about the cost of bio-waste collection. Because if we had more efficient collection systems for products, for product waste, for those products that have been put in the market, so someone should be responsible, we could, allow more budget to be spent in the bio-waste stream.
Thank you very much. Very interesting presentation, because it's important that a supra-municipal entity leads the way, so it's interesting, and we will follow also the advances of the different models in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. And thank you for the comparison and for the explanation of the different instruments. So now it's the turn to have an overview of the bio-waste management in Catalonia, with more than 25 years of experience in mandatory bio-waste collection. And I give the floor to Francesc Giró, Head of Strategical Planning of the Waste Agency of Catalonia, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting us to this interesting workshop. I'm sorry because probably some information I will explain you, most of you have this information, but nevertheless, I will try to make a quick view on the evolution of the bio-waste management with some highlights on the financial mechanisms applied in Catalonia. This is a long journey, but it's a short view on the main milestones starting year 93 with the law on waste. It was passed the separate collection compulsory for bio-waste at the beginning in municipalities with more than 5,000 inhabitants. Some years later, it was extended to all the country. So we have now 30 years at least of legal framework. But in fact, the first experience started in year 96 into municipalities close to Barcelona. It was our first experience using the German model, a 240 liters container, brown container. It was an open lead container, okay. And some years later, in year 2000, we introduced the door-to-door collection. We understood that it was a possibility, it was interesting, because in this way we could ensure and we could get more amount and quality of bio-waste. It has been also important, and later in my presentation I will show you more detail and information on environmental taxation. First in 2004, landfill tax, and some years later, incineration tax. Both has been very, very important. And in year 2013, we started with the first experiences on fair tax in Argentina, pay-as-you-throw system, or a bonification by participation. Okay, but in all this long journey, our attention, our main scope was to get quantity and quality, both. Not only quantity, also quality. Okay. The key is to understand the progress of Catalonia in the field of bio-waste. You can see here the evolution, 93-2022. Its percentage of separate collection, it's almost nothing, up to 47% on average in all the country. And it has been possible because we had legal obligations for separate collection. We had also targets of separate collection of municipal waste in our program. Also, we have account with planification on infrastructures. And of course, the economic tools have been very important. Both environmental taxation, but also subsidies to public administrations for implementing or improving the separate collection of bio-waste. And in all them, bio-waste are always present. Bio-waste, which in Catalonia accounts more or less 36% on weight. It accounts about 1.2 million tons per year, which is 150 kilograms per ton per year. But it's food plus green waste. It's 32 32% of food waste, and 4% of green waste. It was numbers from the last characterization of municipal solid waste, which it was made some years ago. Okay, now we have most of Catalan municipalities have implemented separate collection of bio-waste, and those that has not done it, most of them are implementing composting, home composting, community composting, and some of them are doing both things. And here you have a picture of the infrastructures, composting or anaerobic digestion that we have in Catalonia, with an overall treatment capacity of near 500,000 tons per year of bio-waste. Okay, this is the evolution of the separate collection of bio-waste plus green waste. The last numbers here in the slide is 2021, which accounts 500,000 tons bio-waste plus green waste, okay, producing compost. Most of them is A or B class compost, which can be used for agriculture or organic agriculture, and also production of biogas in case the bio-waste is sent to anaerobic digestion plants. But it's also important, I'm sorry because it's moved, but I don't know why, perhaps it's the PowerPoint version. It has been also very important along this story, the control, the monitoring of quality of bio-waste. We started it in 2004-05. Since that time, we have made around 2,000 bio-waste quality controls per year on around 600 bio-waste circuits, public or private. So it accounts around more than, and this is data, those data doesn't include year 2023, so it's more than 22,000 quality controls. In all the controls, of course, we show what is not acceptable, the impurities, all kind of impurities that should not be present in the bio-waste stream, because we know that bad quality of bio-waste means a lot of problems in the treatment of this bio-waste, but also a worse quality of the compost, okay? Those data are available in a public system, everybody can know this, and it was important not only itself for knowing information on how is our quality of bio-waste, how to improve, in which aspects we can improve. It's also important because we have been using those data for our environmental taxation that I will explain to you. So we can see here in this picture the leftovers from food and food preparation. It's okay, is this one. But also we consider this, which is also possible to manage through composting, but we have to avoid because it's food wastage. So we have to reduce this, okay? And we also can see here the different metals or plastics or plastic bags. And also we take into account and measure the green waste. All this information is very useful for managing the system and for trying to improve it. Here you can see the evolution. It's only up to 2022, the evolution of quality of bio-waste. Our program said that we had a target, we should reach maximum 10% on average. Okay, we get it. And here you have the average of impurities found in all those 22,000 characterizations along those years. Most part of impurities are plastic bags. And in this sense, it's also important, and I think that Michele or Stefan said that there is an effect, the dragging effect, which means that impurities present in bio-waste should be removed. But remember that this generates bio-waste losses. of the other more or less 2.5 to 3 times the amount of impurities. So if we have 5% of impurities, which is quite well, we not account 95% of recycling. The counting system that the Waste Framework Directive doesn't account this, because we, for sure, for removing these impurities, we will lose around 12–15% of rejects. So we can only account 85% of recycling. This is important, okay? Okay, some words on environmental taxation. In Catalonia, it's very singular. There is a part that it's very equivalent than other regions or countries in Europe, but there is only one specific part that it's only in Catalonia present, okay? Okay, municipalities deliver their residual waste to MBT plants or to landfill or incineration. You can see here in this moment, which is the proportion of the residual waste. Most part, 70%, is sent to MBT plants, but still there is 19% that is directly going to landfill and 10% going directly to incineration. In next years, it will be zero, because all residual waste has to be pre-treated before landfill or incineration. Okay, when they deliver their waste to landfill or incineration, or the rejects that are produced for the treatment of the residual waste, they pay a tax. And this tax, in this moment, in 2023, is around 65 euros per ton or 32 euros per ton for landfill or incineration. And this tax is transferred to Waste Agency of Catalonia, okay? It has been in this way since 2004–2005. It accounts around, last year, 106 million euros. And this is the part which is common with other regions or countries in all Europe or in other countries. But at the same time, when municipalities deliver the bio-waste to biological treatment plants, composting, or anaerobic digestion, they receive a tax refund in relation to the quantity and the quality of this bio-waste, following the criteria which is established and is passed each year, the refund criteria. Okay, and in 2023, it means, in concept of treatment, receiving 34 euros per ton. It's clean ton, so without taking into account impurities are not considered. And maximum of 54 euros per ton in concept of collection. Then I will explain how it is calculated. And this is what we call the sticks and carrots strategy. So bonification and penalization, depending on the behavior of each municipality. This part, the carrot, which is very singular, and each time it has been very useful, okay? For our experience, it is very useful. Because, for instance, when we started in 2004, it was more expensive deliver bio-waste to composting than delivering bio-waste or mixed waste to landfilling. And it has no sense. In this moment, it's the overall economic charge has moved in the sense of waste hierarchy. So, in this moment, landfill, we have an average fee of 52 euros per ton plus the landfill tax, means around 170 euros per ton, and for incineration, around 102 euros per ton, following the waste hierarchy. And we know that if we wish to reach the European targets in 2035, so it is more than 60% of recycling and less than 10% of landfilling, for sure, we will increase, and at least we should reach between an overall economic charge of 130 to 150 euros per ton. In this moment, we are in negotiation, and it's some political consensus to increase the landfill tax in the following years in order to reach 100 euros ton in year 2030. Increasing step by step. And here is where I would like to explain you how to calculate. This is the tax, okay? Tax and treatment fee. And here is the criteria for tax refund, where the bio-waste treatment is 34 euros per ton. And the bio-waste separation collection tax refund is 12, in this moment, 12 euros per ton, multiplied by 2 factors. Factor 1, which is quality factor, and factor 2 is size factor. Depending on the number of inhabitants of the population, of the municipality, they multiply by 1.28 or 1.5. And the case of the quality, we have this line. So 0% of impurities multiplied by 3, and there is, because this line is moving from 15 to 10%, and we now, last year was 12.5. At 12.5, this is 0. They don't receive nothing. And we are moving this line each year 0.5 percentage of impurities, okay? The idea is to push for improving quality. Probably in next future, we will adjust, make some arrangements on all this system, but in this moment it's not still established, okay? Here you have the tax, the collection of the money in landfill and incineration, and this is all the use of this money that I will not explain all this, but in some way, 25% more or less is used for bio-waste collection and treatment. It's a tax refund that directly is received by municipalities. Around 45% is for infrastructures, for new infrastructures, or for improvement of infrastructures, for bio-waste treatment or residual waste. And there are others that are interesting and important, but I don't explain it. Okay, this is the evolution of the tax rate along years. We started with 10 euros for landfill and 5 euros for incineration. It always has been 50% of a landfill, and this is the evolution up to 2023. Next year is expected to have a landfill tax of 70 euros per ton. As I said, increasing each year 5 euros, and the idea is to reach in 2030 100 euros per ton of landfill tax, 50 euros per ton for incineration. This is the evolution of the landfill and incineration tax. Is the money that we have collected, and a great part of this money, 96%, is directly returned. It's refunded to municipalities in a direct or indirect way. We still have 4% for managing all the system, and of course for monitoring the bio-waste quality. This is the evolution, and we have now in 2023, it was those last 4 or 5 years, those increase was passed in our parliament, and now is expected this at the end of this year we can pass the increasing for the next years up to 2030. Since our point of view, the landfill and incineration tax has been very effective and stimulating the implementation of separate collection of bio-waste, because if we can see this picture, we can see that the law on waste, which made compulsory the separate collection of bio-waste, it was passed in '93. It came into force between '97 and '99, but at such a moment, there were very few municipalities which have implemented the separate collection. But when we introduced the landfill tax and the incineration tax, of course, most of them move. And even with a low tax with 10 euros, 5 euros, but in those moments, it's not only important for this, because they are moving in order to reduce the amount of residual waste going to landfill and incineration, because it has an economic impact on municipalities. And how does the landfill and incineration tax affect the Catalan municipalities? I present you data about 10 years ago, so it's not updated data, on 7 Catalan municipalities on a region in Catalonia. It ranged from 700 to 7,000 inhabitants. And you can see those bars. In green bar is the tax refund, and the red bar is the tax that they are paying. So if we made the balance of those, we have that, in fact, the impact on citizens' pocket means around, I don't know what happens here, but it's less 2 euros per ton to 2 euros per ton, okay? And what is interesting is to see that those that has a positive balance has the best performance in terms of separate collection, 50 to 60%, and those that has negative balance don't reach 40, 30% of separate collection. So there is an interesting link between both information. So in this moment, sorry, in this moment, we have 47% of separate collection, ranging from 25 to 92%, because the country 937 municipalities is very interesting, very large interval. And in fact, we are reaching 41% of recycling. And of course, we know that we have to reach 65% in year 2035. We have to reduce landfill from 31 to less than 10%. And it means that we should increase the separate collection in relation to residual waste. We should also increase the quality of those materials in order that it makes more recycling and less losses to landfill or to incineration. In addition, we should pass from 71% to 100% of the pretreatment of residual waste, because there is a part that is going directly to landfill. And of course, when possible, trying to improve the performance of those infrastructures in order to increase some materials for recycling. This is the general view on Catalan situation. And only the last 3 slides to show you the contribution of door-to-door collection that started in year 2000. In this moment, there is 313 municipalities, which is 33%, but only 800,000 inhabitants. It is expected to increase in the next years up to near 460 municipalities, which it accounts more or less the half of the municipalities of all Catalonia. And this is the interesting information. Those that are from year 2020, so they are not last year, 2022, which is the official statistics of Waste Agency. But it's interesting because we can see here, we have road containers municipalities, door-to-door municipalities, which the system is implemented in all the municipality, and those which is partially implemented, okay? And we can see that in all waste streams, bio-waste, paper, glass, and packaging, those numbers are kilograms per unit and per year, that door-to-door has much more collection in all fractions than road container. And for residual waste is the inverse, is much less, 2.4 times less of residual waste. So this is important in quantity terms, but also in quality terms. For bio-waste, this is only for bio-waste, we reduce the average percentage of impurities of door-to-door collection 3 times less than road container. It's average numbers for all the country. This is a number for last year, 2022. We have 7% of municipalities which has more than 80% of separate collection, even in some cases more than 90%, 11 which are between 70 to 80, 12 between 60, 70, and so on, 18 between 50 and 60, 24%, 40, 50, and 28%, less than 40%. if we take all the numbers, public numbers, official numbers, and we make a comparison, which those are the separate collection rates that we could see here. This is the kilogram per inhabitant of bio-waste and residual waste. And what we can see is that higher is the separate collection level, higher is the amount of kilograms per inhabitant year of bio-waste, and less is the residual waste. Those are in last bars are for the Catalonia average. These numbers could be improved in the sense that it doesn't, it has not been considered the impurities. So if we take out impurities, of course, those should be, all them less. But in this case, high quality for sure should be less affected, okay? And both data are very well correlated, both, okay? And okay, that's all. Only for sharing the future challenges that we have in our country, but also in most countries. And I think it's like a summary that all of you have explained. The biggest challenge we have is to advance in efficient separate collection systems in large cities or in highly density cities in order to achieve the European targets. Another challenge is keep improving the quality of bio-waste, trying to reach less than 5% of impurities. And the third one, in our particular case, is that we will need to increase the capacity of treatment of bio-waste around 400,000 tons per year. And last but not least, we have to face the appearance of biodegradable compostable materials, packaging or not, that are appearing in the treatment of our bio-waste. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the great presentation. Yeah. We will now move on to the Q&A session. We will have approximately 10 minutes to ask questions, and this will be followed by a very short break of approximately 5 to 10 minutes to just grab a coffee or go to the toilet if needed, and then, yeah, we will move on to the next part. So Q&A, ask your questions if you have any to all of the speakers that have been presenting something right now. Also for the online participants, if you have any questions, you can ask them. No questions? Very quiet. Do you all want to have a break then? Okay, then let's move on to the break. And we have a bit more time, yes, like 15 minutes. Perfect. Yes. I would suggest, I will do it like this. I would suggest you go slowly back to your chair, please. And we will slowly move on to the third and last part of the workshop, which should be the fun part as well. You will have to use your brain now. So no more presentations. Okay. Let's wait 2 more minutes for people to sit, get back to their chair. Yes. At Zero Europe, when we want to bring people back to their chair, we say, "But on chairs." Okay. Yeah, please, Irina, and I don't know if she's able to. We're starting. Okay, great. So, we will now have a co-creation exercise. So you, as I said previously, we will split the group in small groups, okay? So for the in-person, you will be split it into 4 groups. For the online participants, you will go into 2 breakout rooms, and each groups will be led, I mean, the discussion at least will be led, facilitated by facilitators. So let me just explain you a bit, give you a bit of instructions for this exercise. So we will distribute to each group hypothetical scenarios detailing a specific municipal biowaste separate collection system, which is low or medium performing, okay? And your role here will be to understand what are the barriers and challenges associated to the context and try to mobilize all the learnings that people shared with you today to improve, optimize the system, okay? So this is the exercise. You will have roughly 45 minutes to do that. You might think it's a lot, but it's not, okay? So this will be the challenge of the facilitator to kind of, go through the different steps of the exercise to make it flow. So I would suggest that you do not spend too much time like struggling around a point, like try just to go on, and if you see you're not agreeing on something, maybe just leave it aside and go on later on that if you have time. But try, yes, to always bring other elements to the discussion. Okay, so the aim of the exercise is to create, on the basis of the information shared with you, an optimal scenarios detailing the key actions, the key activities, low-term and medium-term activities that you need to implement to improve the system's results, okay? It will be very clear. You will have, you will go on 4 different tables, and you will see there is a template to fill in on each table. It's already there with the scenarios explained. Okay? You will be given 45 minutes. Originally, we were hoping that you would have time then to present some of the key results of your exercise, but I think we will not have time. I would rather give you more time to actually work on the scenarios, and then you can eventually discuss that during lunch. So those are the different groups. If I forgot someone, please let me know, okay? Carlo, you're not here? Yes, because I thought you would not come. Okay, so for example, you could go, I think, with Mike, yeah? Perfect, so I would suggest that the group of Gemma will be in this table, yeah? Then there will be the group of Mike on the table at the back of the room, and then you have 2 other tables in the room, yeah, behind this wall. So it can be Stefan and Michele, okay? So please, maybe Michele, you can show yourself. So Michele is this person, group number 4. Gemma is the person, so group number 1 is here, Mike, group number 2 is here. And we have Stefan, group number 3 was there. So go with your respective group. And for the online session, you will be now divided into breakout rooms, okay, with Enzo and Ricardo. You will be given mural, online mural, that will be shared by each of the facilitator, and they will edit it for you. So, yes, if there is any troubles, you can always use the chat, but it hopefully will go well. Have fun. And just final, we have the kind of Vitor and Francesc, but also John Mark. What I would suggest you, because you have kind of this like higher perspective on the different context, I would suggest you would be like flies and go from a group to another and give your insights, okay? So maybe John Mark can start with group 1, Francesc, you can start with group 2, and Victor, which I don't know is where he can go then with group 3. Perfect. I don't know, like anything that you think could be valuable or has been useful to the discussion. I don't know if some of you want to come, take the floor, or just like share some thoughts. It's not massively needed, but it's just an opportunity for you to do it if you think it's you have something to say that could be useful to the other one. That's what Everyone is very quiet. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. Huh? Yes, sharing like.
So just as a point of the discussion and revising what we all the different groups wrote down, one of the points where we discussed in our group and what is reflected in 2 of the 3 posters, in our group first we put that one of the outcomes would be the high quality compost as an outcome. Then there's another poster that says high quantity compost, quantity, and the third poster says high quantity and high quality. So it was a debate whether we are pushing for quality and quantity, just quality or quantity. So when we're in a zero waste frame, my brain goes into, ¿cómo se dice en castellano? Cortocircuito, when we don't focus on quality and we are putting into the question quantity. Quantity, from my experience, is something that is dangerous to talk about when we're talking about percentages and objectives, because we have all of these big, massive incinerators, all of the system. We based on Excel sheets, numbers, blah, blah, blah. So I would like to open the debate to the other groups.
Can I say something about it? I think it's an interesting point. It makes me think that yesterday we've been to Mercabarna, and we saw the bio-waste collection system they have, and then we've been to the Torrelles composting plant. And it was interesting because we had clearly the distinction between what came out of the municipality bio-waste collection and then what came from Mercabarna. Mercabarna bio-waste is very clean, but just by looking, you see the huge amount of very good food that is actually thrown away. So you had like very beautiful aubergine and like watermelon. So this is actually like, I think, a bit what you're saying. They have good quality, bio-waste collected, but also a massive quantity that could be maybe avoided and go into food waste prevention. So yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to react on that, but yeah.
We discussed also a little bit what should we put first into as a measurement and objective, whether should it be increased collection and quality of separately collected organic, or actually what is it? It might be more important to decrease the amount of organic waste in the mixed waste, and do it as today was suggested in some presentations through prevention of food waste, through home composting, and through separate collections. But still we put like as a first number to decrease the amount of organic waste in the mixed waste, first of all.
Does anyone? Yeah?
Continue what Irina was saying. We wrote in it was about when we talk about the quantity, Irina's saying to decrease it. We wrote in our poster to high quality and quantity. So please, colleagues, we were talking about in mixed waste. Okay, but not in any case collect more bio waste would be a good indicator or a good outcome. That's what we were debating. That's
Excellent.
I think the point that we have debated in our group was exactly that what Manon said before, that you do not need to collect more to have your bio waste in your facilities if you can avoid it.
Yes, I think Enzo wants to Enzo wants to react or say or share something. So yes. Enzo. We were getting to the interesting part. No. Is it coming from the Wi-Fi? Okay, thank you, Enzo. Maybe 2 minutes more for one last insight or thoughts? No? You want? Yep.
Okay, so we have the case for the big city, something similar to Barcelona maybe in general. And of course, one of the main issues is to have a big team, working team, to make the strategy and to implement the new collection model. So it's, we will need the staff and we will need external support to modify the system. Yes, we mentioned that the door-to-door is the best option, but we have to study the implementation in each neighborhood depending on the urban scheme. And of course, underground containers will be out at first as a first idea. And then, of course, focus on commercial collection because in a large city with a lot of tourism will be important. The capture rate and also the quality can be. So, okay, it's important to follow up the commercial collection and to introduce door-to-door services with inspection. Then we will need also investment, a lot of investment. So we will need EU funds for sure, and also to have a system like in Catalonia, maybe with these grants and also the refund system that can give support to the municipality in this investment first stage. And I don't know, a lot of things because we talk about control the frequencies in summer because of the challenge of the summer climate, higher temperatures. And data management for sure, because we want to identify the producers, and something like specific campaigns for tourism, with different languages, and continuous communication team, of course. That's all, more or less.
Thank you. I hope this was a useful, yeah? Okay. Enzo says. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I think we can maybe close the workshop for today. I hope this last part was useful for you, at least to absorb all the learnings and exchange and connect, network. So before to let you go, two last thing, you will see a few, sorry, I missed the word now. QR code, oh my God, thank you, I'm tired. So you will see a few QR code a bit everywhere. You have one here, one over there. This, by scanning it, you will get directly to a form to join the BioBest Supporting Stakeholder Network. This is, I think, something that could be useful for many of you. You will get access to knowledge, learning, events. You can also network with other people working on a similar fields. So yeah, feel free to scan the QR code and check and fill out the form if you're interested, of course. And then, of course, we have you can find the website here, lifebiobest.eu. On the website, you can access to the newsletter and other informations about the project following the publication of the deliverables, such as the guidelines, policy paper, EU guidance. So we will be producing a lot of more informations in the next months. So yeah, don't hesitate to check the website, register to the newsletter. And final but not least, I really would like to thank you, of course, the partners of the BioBest project for having helped with the preparation of this workshop, but also Red Zero, who is there. They have been helping us since many weeks, actually. I would think we can make a big round of applause for them. They've been helping also with the, finding the venue, the food. Sorry? The speakers, yeah. Finding the venue, finding the food, the translation as well. We had, I think, amazing interpreter for the entire study tour and for this event. So I think we can applaud him as well. And finally, of course, the speakers, thank you for all of you for coming today and for sharing your nice knowledge and insights. Okay, I think it was good. Yeah, thanks to us. And yes, now you can enjoy food. And yeah, see you soon. And we can close this event. And thanks for the online participants as well, for sticking until the end.